Ian Happ. Oh, on the big backswing. Happ got Contreras in the helmet. The mask knocked away. And another message sent. Buzzed the tower once, got him flush the second time, and now let's see if the umpires issue warnings after Happ knocked Contreras from the game.
Well, you see that Happ knew exactly what was going on, too. Didn't say a word, took his bag, caught him right in the hip. If you're going to get him, that's exactly where you get him. Did the job the right way.
They throw him out? Wow, they just throw Mikolas out of the game.
You got to be kidding me. Have a little feel for baseball. Have a little feel for the game. That's awful.
Let's get nasty here on a Friday afternoon. It's the Fast Lane. Jamie Rivers here. Alex Ferrario sticking around for a couple of hours with us. And the Brad Thompson in studio.
Look at that.
What's going on, boys? Been
Buddy,
too long since I've been in here.
I feel like I just was listening to you.
Oh, I feel like didn't see that coming last night. There was a lot going on in that ball game, and that was a wild one, an emotional one, and I got a little upset during that ball game. Didn't see it going down the way that it ended up going down. As I told you guys a little bit earlier, it was a simulcast, so apparently it was going on. It was on MLB Network, that game as well. Now, my take on that could have been a very homer take, if you will,
a little bit
on the entire thing, but a passionate one nonetheless. But boy, I woke up to a lot of different messages this morning, and most of them told me to go blank myself, hang myself, or do something to myself. And it was a lot today, but fans are passionate on both sides of the map either way. An ugly start to the ball game. 14 pitches for Miles Mikolas. In 14 pitches, you lose a catcher, you lose your pitcher, and essentially you lose the ball game.
And you lost your manager.
Oh, yeah, you lose Ollie, too.
Watching from home, I thought that BT blackout rage was coming through.
I had one of the...
A little bit. You
I
had
had
to start to twitch a little bit.
Where it was, I started like grasping things tightly, and then I do like the little... Oh, don't say that one. You can say anything on air once. You can say anything once. But I didn't want to say any of those things. But like that's not how that was supposed to go down. Because we had just gotten into talking about this with Miles Mikolas. He had first inning issues anyhow throughout the season. ERA north of 7. I think it was like 16 of his earned runs this year have been in the first inning. And then he looks like pinpoints. The first two batters, boom, 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 putting the ball where he wants to. And then you have the backswing by Ian Happ, which obviously you're not trying to do. Ian Happ is not trying to. They didn't sit down beforehand like, guys, got an idea to get Contreras out of the game. Okay? Guy's hitting like 450 in the month. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go with a heavy swing. I'm going to catch him. They're obviously not trying to do that, but does hit him. Miles Mikolas sticks up for his guy. Whether you believe in that or not, I tend to, obviously. It went down in 14 pitches. I mean, it went down pretty quickly.
So I got questions.
Okay, good. And I've got so many different answers. That's the thing. There are 1,000 ways to look at how everything went down.
Okay, so I'm watching that last night, and one right away, I knew it wasn't on purpose to hit Contreras. And I mean, they're former teammates, and it's not going down like that. However, my question is, and I'm all for plunking a batter.
I know you are, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no problem. Stick it right between the shoulder blades. It's fine with me.
The old Roger Dorn.
Yeah. All that's fine.
The soul taker is what they call that one when you can't breathe.
I just didn't understand why. I get your catcher got hurt, but it wasn't on purpose.
Nope.
Then, you come in high and tight with the next pitch, miss your mark. Yeah. Then you come and get the meat on the second one.
Right, which there are like 1,000 things to break down within all of these. One of them is you missed him the first time.
Does that piss you off even more?
And then do you go back to the well? Because I was talking to some of the Cubs guys after the game and say, hey, do you think that he gets ejected if he hits him with the first one? And they're like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, I don't either. And who knows? Like, the umpires might get together.
Is that the warning shot? Or that's their warning from them if you hit them?
It's like you had yes, I think so. Like
I think they would have overlooked it.
Yeah, you get him, and then it's like, okay, well, the way that Happ reacted again, he knew that was coming. Like,
but why? Why do you plunk a guy for accidentally?
Because it's a 1-for-1. It's a 1-for-1. That's the thing. So here's the difference for me. It's not always about intent. Okay, intent, it means more. If you try to intend to hit somebody in the head, well, you should be out of a game. Or somebody on the other side should try to go kill you. Like, that's basically, when I say that I don't need to
No, I understand what you mean,
Say it
Brad.
lovingly.
Have the intent to
No
want
disclaimer
to
needed
go.
here in the fast lane.
Great,
You know
go
that.
kill somebody. And when I say that again, never mind. You know what I mean. But it's not about the intent in the situation. It's about the result of the situation. The result of the situation is, after 14 pitches, you're down a catcher. Like, he is out of the game for the rest of it. He's bleeding from his head, and he's a guy that has been an impact for all the problems that he's had behind the plate and all the storylines that have been there. He's one of the best bats in the game in the second half. So you're losing that guy. It's not about the intent. It's about the result of what, in fact, happened. And one thing that, honestly, with this Cardinal team, I've been disappointed in throughout the season, they've shown very little fight for each other. Like, you haven't seen, you've seen some terrible times.
Oh, yeah.
You have seen some times where you're just thinking, boy, they could use a little mix-up right here, like do a little something. And you just haven't seen it. Miles Mikolas took it into his own hands there to at least have his guys back and to be like, hey, this one, that's for that. Like, that's why that is. Ian Happ handled it like a freaking pro.
Well,
He
yeah,
did
you said
everything.
he knew it was coming.
And he did everything like a pro.
The head
he
nod,
apologized to Contreras. Contreras gave him a hug on the way out. The way that he took the pitch, like, he was good to go. But in my opinion, none of this, and it didn't escalate any further. After this, after everything was
I thought it was
kicked
going to go
out,
off the rails.
I did too. And I really thought that the umpires, the way that they handled it, was going to make it get that way. Because remember, when Miles Mikolas got tossed out and he's arguing, that's when the Cubs dugout starts chirping at him. And then that's when Jack Flaherty comes up and starts chirping. And like, here's the thing with that. From the Cubs standpoint, and I get it. Like, your guy just got hit. You look at it the same way. Say Ian Happ just got it. It was a backswing, dude. He didn't do it on purpose. But you're sitting there laughing at Mikolas for yelling. You got Stroman over there laughing and stuff. You've got Contreras bleeding from his head in the other dugout. Like, so credit to Mikolas and credit to Flaherty for stepping up. And I really thought it was going to escalate. And here's the thing with it. If you believe that someone was hit on purpose, if you're the umpiring crew and you get together and that's exactly what they did, it was the crew chief, Lance Barksdale, that said, yeah, like, this is the way that we believe it went down. You're well within your rights to throw the player out of the game. Like, they did what they were able to do, but it's not your only option.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing.
Do you think they were pissed off because they missed the warning, too? Like, the ump feels like, damn it. Because he should have warned Mikolas after the high and tight.
Well, see, I think after the high and tight, you can actually get away with the high and tight because you heard Miles Mikolas as diplomatically afterwards as possible. He was saying, hey, I can go in my locker and I can show you the scouting report. You got to pitch in on Ian Happ, but you go look at some heat maps. You got to get in there a little bit. Can't let him get extended. I think after the long delay with the injury, you could actually get away with missing him there. The problem was doubling back up. And here's the thing about baseball, and we've talked about this plenty of times in the past, Jamie, you know this. Baseball players have long memories, right? So you might hit somebody 2 years later for something that ended up happening. Like, that's just kind of part of it. It's like, well, you're watching a game, you're like, what the hell was that?
You guys hold grudges far too long.
Big time. Big time.
More than hockey players?
Well, yeah, we tend to do it, like, in the moment quickly. Although there has been some times where it's leaked into the next season. Yeah.
Yes, but that's the thing. Like, in a situation like that, hindsight being 2020 now, like, you look at it and say, okay, well, maybe if you really wanted to get him, maybe you get him the next at-bat, or maybe you get him 3 later, or maybe you get him tomorrow. Like, if you really wanted to do it in the spot, sometimes you do have to use the mind a little bit. But I do think that the umpires also could have had a little bit more feel with that and looked at it and say, okay, their catcher's gone. They're upset about that. This guy just got hit in the hip, and he's walking to first base. No harm, no foul. We're good to go. But that is a full-on, like, homer look at it, because if things were flipped, how would I feel if, in fact, everything went the other way, right? That they lost their catcher. I have a feeling you'd be honest about it. I really do. I have a feeling you'd be like, you know what? This is kind of what it is. I think I would, too.
Yeah, I do.
But I don't know, Jamie. That's the hard part. I'm not sure. So it was eventful nonetheless. The one thing that, had I had a chance to go back and have my initial reactions, again, they're going to sound a lot like they sounded there. I was upset in the moment. I was upset for the team, upset for Miles Mikolas, and believe that there were other ways to go. But here's one of the biggest issues, I believe, with Major League Baseball. While the umpires do have options, they have the option to kick him out, which they did. They have the option to issue warnings. You can issue warnings to both clubs. They have the option, you can just watch the game and let it keep going. You have these options. But I believe that Major League Baseball has taken these options off the plate for some of these umpires where common sense isn't so common anymore. Where it's like, hey, if you see anything at all that might escalate, just get rid of them, get it over with. So if I had a chance to explain it again, real time, maybe not real time, maybe like the next half inning. Maybe it would be one where it's like, hey, look, these guys are doing the best they can. We got into that a little bit later. Being an umpire is a hard job, and Lance Barksdale's been doing it forever, and he was the crew chief on it. Ryan Addington was behind the plate. And Addington was the guy that gave him the heave-ho, but you know who it was coming from. Oh, of course.
I thought that was a little much.
Oh, yeah. And
you don't have to blow a hip flexor by throwing a guy out.
Well, how about that when Ollie gets called out? It's Will Little Time for Explanation, I guess his name is, over there. It's like, no, you're gone too. Beat it, everybody.
It's on MLB Network. You got to make it big.
It is a difficult, it's nice to know beforehand. But it's a difficult job, right? And it's a hard thing to play peacekeeper. And to their credit, afterwards, it didn't escalate. So maybe they de-escalated a situation in the first inning. I just feel like it could have been handled better.
All right, we're going to get into more Cubs-Cardinals from last night, maybe break down a few things. Also want to get BT's take on some Nolan Arenado trade rumors. I got heated yesterday about all that. I want to get BT's take on that next here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN.
So basically what I've heard for several days now, when I first heard it, I was like, no way. And then you keep hearing it, so you poke around. And basically they've had, the Dodgers have reached out. They've had talks. The Dodgers know what the Cardinals would want in this kind of scenario. But the fact is, as I wrote in the story, that the Cardinals don't have to trade Nolan Arenado. He's under contract for a while. He remains one of the best players in baseball. So the Dodgers have been enamored by him for years, going back to his Rockies days. They wanted him when he was about to be a free agent there before he signed his extension. They wanted him when he asked out of Colorado. Colorado did not want to trade him to Los Angeles. This has been for a long time. So as it stands right now, I was told yesterday, actually, that it seems that the Cardinals are, have sort of closed the door on this, but they did have talks.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. Jamie Rivers here driving the bus today. Our guy Anthony's got the day off. Alex Ferrario sticking around with us. And our guy BT in studio today. BT, a lot of rumors go swirling around at deadline time.
For sure.
Especially around a team that has underperformed. And it looks like, not they're having a wholesale or a fire sale, but they're gonna be making some trades.
There are some things that are bolted down. But other than that, yes.
So is Nolan Arenado bolted down?
No, I don't think too many things should be bolted down, to be totally honest at this point. Now, that being said, I don't think Nolan Arenado is going anywhere, nor should he. But here's the thing. Like right now where you are as an organization, you should be taking calls from everybody. And you listen to the way that was said there is that the Dodgers reached out. Of course the Dodgers reached out because they wanted him before. Just like they said, it didn't say that the Cardinals are actively engaging the Dodgers in conversation. There is a difference.
So that's where I got heated yesterday.
She called me. Why are you mad at me?
That's right.
Or whatever your scenario is.
You know what, Brad? That was pretty understandable.
I think so.
Thank you for being relatable.
What are you doing?
But
I didn't do it.
My take yesterday on it was that the same thing. Is the reporter giving out factual information, but without information behind it. So basically saying, hey, the Dodgers are in talks with the Cardinals. Well, define that.
Sure. And
do you know what I'm saying?
No, you're
and that's
absolutely
where I get pissed off is like, all of a sudden it sounds like Mozeliak is shopping Arenado when I don't believe that to be true.
Jamie, you are so right.
And Janet, I love hearing your voice. It's just different studio quality, having these headphones on. You just hear it just in the heart. No, I totally agree with you. Look, again, I think that you should be answering every phone call on every player right now. Because if there is a deal out there, if somebody is crazy enough, that's why I was really surprised, maybe surprised the wrong word, because the Angels have done things a little bit differently. But if you would have gotten a monumental haul for Shohei Ohtani. Like, you have to think about that. Like, it's a game-changing type thing. If you are offered up a game changer for the foreseeable future deal for Nolan Arenado, you have to at least think about that. You're not actively shopping it, but when someone's coming to you with a need that they want, something that they want, your job is to listen as a member of the front office. But I don't believe that he's going anywhere. I thought it was interesting that his agent didn't really talk about the piece at all, but he said the fact that he would only use his no trade for the Dodgers was not correct or incorrect, whatever way that he put it. Yeah. That didn't help.
No, that really muddied the waters, too. Then the agent's got to go. He's got to go back to social media to clarify his blunder.
Yeah, of course.
Gasoline on that fire.
Right? It happens. But no, I don't think that he's going anywhere. But what do you guys, and I didn't get a chance to listen to you guys yesterday when it goes down. Do you believe that they should be? That's my fault.
It's okay.
That's on me.
I forgive you.
I will go back and listen to the podcast. I know it's right there on the website, so I will do that. But it's one of those things where I'm interested from your standpoint of, would you, if you're the front office, would you be listening to conversations about Nolan?
Well, let me put it this way. Certain teams, I'll answer the phone that I know have exactly what I want in return, and that's about it. So if it's the Dodgers and they're looking to send, a couple of big-time pitchers, so some of their big-time young guys or prospect pitchers, then I guess I have to listen. But, honestly, I'd be answering the phone, and if they talked about Nolan Arenado, I'd say, hey, how's Walker Buehler doing?
He's hurt.
I understand that, but how's he doing? Is he rehabbing?
How's the next one of him doing?
He's getting a bionic arm.
So I think that if you got numbers of volume back for this player, like you talked about Shohei Ohtani, and the haul that he would have brought to the Angels, which, by the way, boy, are they dumb. But the haul he would have brought for the Angels, you got to look at Nolan Arenado in the same light as man, this is arguably one of the top 10,
Yeah.
maybe even less, best third baseman ever in baseball.
He's going to Cooperstown.
He is, 100%.
There's no question. It was funny. We had his graphics up on the screen compared to, Hall of Famers, and Scott Rowland was up there. You look at his offensive numbers, already better, like what he's done. So the guy is headed to Cooperstown. And again, having those conversations, like the Dodgers call and be like, hey, this guy's off limits, but other than that, pick of the litter. Like, okay, well, we would actually start with that guy. And by the way, that guy would be Bobby Miller for them. He's a top 10 prospect in baseball, right-handed pitcher that you would love to get your hands on in a deal if you possibly could. But there is no such thing as an untouchable when it comes to a guy like Nolan Arenado. And again, when I'm talking through these fake deals, I don't want Nolan to go anywhere. I don't believe that he should go anywhere. I don't believe he wants to go anywhere. Why? Because he actually picked up his player option, didn't get more money elsewhere, which could have been the Dodgers. He didn't fight for more money or another year on this deal because he wanted to stay here. But your job is to still listen to see if you can make the ball club better.
Well, and we were talking with John Morosi earlier today on BK and Ferrario, and I thought he put it up perfectly. He said, you don't have the luxury as a team to have a list of untouchables on your squad. He said, you should be listening to everybody because you have the blessing of clarity with your roster right now of knowing where your weaknesses are, knowing where your strengths are. Your strengths are obviously corrupted if you trade away Nolan Arenado, but if somebody's willing, whether it's the Dodgers or if the Mariners are willing to offer up multiple of their pitchers, you at least have to answer that phone call.
Yeah, if I'm entertaining moving on from Nolan Arenado, I'm absolutely moving on from Paul Goldschmidt too.
Oh yeah,
like there's no need to hang on to Paul Goldschmidt if you trade Arenado.
I need a cornerstone. I need a guy. But who's your guy then?
Well, BT, here's my thing: is you've got all that term left on Arenado's deal. You got another year on Paul Goldschmidt, who's aging. For now, I know, but in the moment, in the now, this is what you're looking at. So if I'm willing to trade Nolan Arenado, I almost have to be willing to move on from Paul Goldschmidt.
I don't know about that because then it's full rebuild, right? It depends what you get back in a deal if you are going to do it. And again, just throwing out the Arenado one because that was a rumor yesterday. If you get guys that are like big league ready, then you shift over. Maybe the idea was you shift over Walker, but okay, he plays third for now, or maybe you move Gorman, or whatever you want to do. You have a little flexibility there position wise, and you still have Goldie, the MVP, who's still putting up big time numbers. You do also have financial flexibility because with the contract gone, the money's gone. Now that money's probably going to have to be poured into starting pitching first and foremost, but you'll still have a little cash left over, chances are. Maybe you add another bat of a certain ilk, but I could not move away from both of them unless I had like a plan way down the road, and I don't think they would have an appetite for that. I don't think they have an appetite for moving one of them, but the rumor is out there.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of moving either of them. And Anthony and I got into this a little bit throughout the week because Anthony is just steadfast on moving Goldie. Like, move Goldie. Not Arenado, move Goldie. You got the 1 year left and the aging. And Anthony puts up a good fight. He has a good argument to support it that if your Hall coming back is something that can help you not just for next year but the year after as well, who knows about Paul Goldschmidt? And, Marshy, who does he continuously use as the benchmark? Who's the first baseman in Houston?
Abreu.
Oh, yeah.
Abreu is right now.
So Anthony uses Abreu as the mile marker to
MVP
say, look what happened when he got older.
Yeah, different body type, different.
I know,
work ethic,
but I guess
everything. But
that's one way to
understand
to look at it.
Oh, I understand that. I don't see it. I don't like it.
I
don't like it either.
I think it's also because it seems the Cardinals are so uncertain with Jordan Walker. At least that's what the reports are. Of is he an outfielder or is he going to have to be a DH next year until a spot opens up elsewhere? That's where at least the conversation has sparked for me with the Paul Goldschmidt of what are you doing with Walker?
You got too many DH options, Jamie.
You do. You have too many outfielders and too many DHs. You got to clean up some of that.
Some of them aren't great in the outfield. That ends up being a problem too, which makes him the DH option.
But when I look at Walker in the outfield, he's had his struggles defensively, but the guy's a pure athlete. He is a pure athlete.
Yeah,
he's going to figure it
get
out.
better.
He's going to get better. Like he's going to get progressively better as he gets more reps out there. But yeah, we'll see what that looks like. It's interesting to hear all these rumors all the time anyway. But another one I want to get into, coming back here, is Jack Flaherty. Is he leaving or are the Cardinals extending him?
Ooh.
We'll get into that next here on 101 ESPN.
ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals lose Game 1 to the Cubs last night by a final score of 10-3. Miles Mikolas went 2/3 inning after being ejected in the first inning for hitting Ian Happ in the side. We'll talk more Cardinals baseball coming your way with BT, who joins us in the fast lane. We also have Alex Ferrario joining us for the first 2 hours, and then Brandon Kiley joining us for the last 2 as well. We'll talk with Matt Holliday in the 5 o'clock hour, and all baseball throughout the rest of the show. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffAutoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
They would like to maybe keep one of these guys. I think they know deep down in their heart that Jordan Montgomery's going to be a free agent, wants to be a free agent, wants to get max value. They think there might be a chance to talk Jack Flaherty into staying. Now, there's been zero progress. I was told there hasn't even been an offer made, but the Cardinals are hoping to maybe use the deadline in their favor. You know, I've been told they want him back. He's the one that they think they could hang on to. He's the one they covet. If a deal could be worked out between now and the deadline, I think both sides would be happy.
That's John Denton right there, right here on these very airwaves on 101 ESPN. BT, the big news in the last couple days has been Jack Flaherty, who I think a lot of people felt like it was an automatic that he would be moved at the deadline. It may not quite be that way. I don't know if an extension is looming. I don't know if it's just wishful thinking from some people. I don't know if it's just,
for me, Jamie, it doesn't feel like an extension is looming when it comes to Jack Flaherty. That being said, piggybacking off of John Denton from MLB.com, who does a great job, at least not just throwing stuff at the wall. The concept of they would like to keep one of those guys, of course they would like to keep one of those guys. You're going to have 3 holes in your rotation next year. You got Mikolas and Matz, and then... Yeah, Mikolas and Matz is what you got next year, right? And then you're going to piece it together internally. You're going to have to go out and sign a free agent. Hopefully, during this trade deadline, you bring in a guy that is ready for that job next year. So, yes, you're absolutely going to keep one of those guys. And the idea of Jordan Montgomery hitting the free agent market is due to the fact that his agent is Scott Boras, and Boras guys are going to hit the market. And he should hit the market at this point, unless you're going to give him market value to lock him up so you don't have to get in a bidding war. Chances are, right now, the Cardinals aren't willing to do that. So
what is market value for Jack right now? Because I find that very difficult.
No, and you're right. It is interesting because the dude has not been healthy the last couple of years, and the numbers are pedestrian this year, right? So the idea, let's float out a contract extension for Jack Flaherty. If we wanted to play the Cardinals and last minute deadline, and if you're listening to Jack's camp, they have not had any of these conversations to this point. They've wanted to have these conversations for the last year, or at least in spring training, they haven't been there. What are you willing to throw out to Jack Flaherty for an extension? Right?
Well, it's not long term. It's not long term, and I know he'll say no to that.
Okay, so how many years then?
I'm looking at 2 to 3 years.
I was thinking 3.
And I don't mind going higher in the dollar value. I don't mind saying, hey, Jack, listen.
What's high then?
3 by 25.
Wow.
3 for 75?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot.
There's not a chance.
That's way more. I was thinking 15 per year.
Tops.
Yeah.
That's where but the thing is, when I'm thinking about that as an extension, Jack would do the face that you're doing right now. It's like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I was thinking more Jack Flaherty side of things.
For sure, free agent market.
But will they get that on the open
market? That's the thing you don't know. So, but the oddity of it is you look every year, you look at different starting pitchers, that guy's making what?
Yeah.
How did he do that? Well, Jack has shown flashes of great. And
Jack
Jack
is
a
guy guys, BT, in fairness, a lot of those guys you're talking about have a longer resume of putting together games. And what I mean by that is
being healthy.
Yeah, being healthy for an extended period of time. And the back of the baseball card tells me when they're healthy, it looks like this. Where Jack doesn't really have that.
Yeah, look, I look, if I'm floating an extension for Jack, it's going to look a lot like the Steven Matz contract to me, and it's going to look around $11 million a year, and you might be sitting there screaming at your radio right now, say, why would you do that? He's inconsistent at $5 million. Why? I get it. Like, I understand that, but look at what the market is going to be. We're just talking about how the market's going to be crazy, and Jack will probably make a lot more money than you want him to make or you expect him to make. Well, if you want somebody that you believe is better than Jack, guess how much money they're going to make on the free agent market? Like, they're going to end up making more.
The Nolas, the Snells.
And if you did re-sign Jack, then you still have 2 spots that you have to fill. One of those has to come from a big-time free agent or a big-time trade. You're not going to fill 2 spots internally in the rotation again. I think that they've learned from that mistake, right, of saying, we've got depth. Maybe let your depth fight it out for the 5th job, and then inevitably your 6th and 7th when you need those guys. But I would think somewhere around, if you are inclined to do it, and who knows if the Cardinals are even inclined to do it, who knows if Jack is inclined to listen at this point, I think would be somewhere around the 4-year 44 that they gave Matz. Maybe you go a tiny bit higher in the AAV. I don't go any higher in years. Honestly, I'd rather have 3 with an option.
That's kind of where I was at, just to make sure that he can stay healthy.
Yeah, and I would rather have Jack around last year than walk out the door, but I also would not want to give him so much money that it handcuffs you from actually going after somebody that you legitimately can believe is going to be near the top of your rotation. If you give him that kind of money, come those kind of expectations, to this point, he hasn't proven to be that guy.
The question that I was curious about on that side of it, if you're re-signing him, is how do you internally view Jack? If you're bringing him back, is he your number 1 next year, and then you're filling 3, 4? And that's what I was thinking. My concern is they look at Jack and say, well, we'll bring him back and look at what he did this year. We'll put him in as our number 1 in the Mikolas.
They already did that. They made that mistake already this year, whereas they looked at him like, okay, well, this is going to be second half 2019 stuff. He's going to be healthy. Bingo, bango, bongo. We're good to go. You're not. You have, if you had him, you have in no particular order, right? 2, 3, 4 in your rotation. Right. Or maybe 3, 4, 5 if you go out and get the right 1, 2. Like that's the way that they have to be looking at it right now.
So when Mo's breaking it down, and we haven't gotten into Jordan Montgomery yet, which we might as well do that right now, is my perception from an outsider looking into the Cardinals front office is that Jordan Montgomery is as good as gone. Do you guys agree with that?
I believe they're both as good as gone.
Yeah,
okay.
That's kind of where I am too.
All right.
Which, by the way, again, does not mean you can't bring one of them back.
Right.
Like, you're going to have to pony up to keep them, but it doesn't mean you can't. And also, there could be one of them, and maybe it ends up being Jack, because Jack doesn't have as much of a track record the last couple of years of being steady as Montgomery. You test the market, and maybe the market comes back a little bit, and maybe for Jack there could be a little bit more money elsewhere, but there's also the comforts of St. Louis.
Right.
Then you bring him back, and you whether it's to a prove-it deal or to a shorter-term deal or a deal that both sides actually feel good about. You know, we can do those things, too, where you don't feel like you're screwed over on one side or the other. Yeah. You know, in any business transaction, somebody always feels like a winner or a loser, but there can be some good deals out there as well. So even if both of these guys are traded, and right now, the way that the Cardinals are playing, the way that they are, you know, right now and the needs that they have, to me, that is a smart move, to trade both of these pieces off, and then if you look at one of them and say, I'd like to bring him back, well, then you bring him back, because all it costs you is money. But what you get is, right now, if you sign somebody to an extension, that's going to cost you money, too. You get nothing in return. You get no prospects, no people, no pieces coming back to help you build in 2024. It makes logical sense to me, outside looking in, without knowing any of their internal conversations, to ship them both off.
Now, Steven Matz is an interesting name. I have been just looking at it as Steven Matz and Miles Mikolas are your 2 guys, and you're going to have to fill up the rest of the rotation this year at the trade deadline and also in the offseason, either via trade or signing somebody. There's a little bit of a report out there, MLB Insider.
MLB what?
Trying to find it here.
Insider.
Yeah.
The way you slowed it down sounded different. That's all I
Yeah, it depends where you it's where you pause it.
It sure is.
Yep. Well, they had on here that Steven Matz has been, you know, that name pops up as a possible trade candidate as well. Now, based upon his performance, not recently, but and his health since he's been a Cardinal, you look at that, and I'm sure a lot of people are like, get rid of him.
I don't know.
Pump the brakes.
I agree.
Yeah.
$10-11 million a year for a starting pitcher is peanuts, okay? I said peanuts, right?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah. It's, again, relative for all of us. $10 million a year, it's more money than I'll ever make, right? But for them, it is all relative. You go out and you want to sign a guy on the free agent market. What did Verlander sign for? 43.
That's
What did
crazy.
Scherzer sign for? $43 million a year. Like, those are what dudes are making on the open market. I wouldn't be so quick on the draw, but for the idea of, hey, Steven Matz, his name is out there. You know why his name is out there? Because he's wearing the birds on the bat. Like, anybody that's wearing that uniform right now, their name should be out there, because if they are an option that help make this ball club better, then you should be talking about it.
Well, speaking of options, we saw coming out with the break that the Dodgers have made a trade, and they've acquired Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly from the White Sox, and that's according to Ken Rosenthal. And Jeff Passan reported that Chicago will receive outfielder Trace Thompson and minor league right-handers Nick Nastrini and who's a number 9 prospect in the MLB pipeline, and Jordan Leisure. Teams have not yet confirmed a trade, but this is what they're reporting. So what does that tell you?
Well, it tells me that might be one market that is not going to be going after Jack potentially. And maybe they do. Maybe they have a couple of starting pitchers.
They don't have any of the pitchers right now.
They have plenty of room, so maybe they do. Maybe they went after.
Well,
they already have the relationship with Joe Kelly. Huh?
They've been rumored for Monty.
For sure. Like, anybody that has, I think Monty is the number 1 free agent lefty. I'm sorry, not free agent, but tradable lefty that's out there, unless there's clarity on Blake Snell right before the deadline. He's having a freaking monster year who might end up getting a haul. So anybody that thinks they're going to go on a run, Dodgers obviously should think they're going on a run, should be in on Jordan Montgomery. And right now, when you look at the standings, you look at buyers, you look at sellers, there are a hell of a lot more buyers out there than there are sellers. So if you are a team like the Cardinals, who have 2 well sought after commodities in starting pitching like Flaherty and like Montgomery, you just got to make sure you get the right deal, because this has got an opportunity to be a pivotal trade deadline that can set them up for success. But it'll be interesting to watch Lance Lynn. Overall numbers this year have not been great. Joe Kelly, they freaking love him in LA. Like, he's perfect. Bring him back into the fold over there. But I think that you get Lance out of there, you get him in a new environment, playoffs down the stretch, I think that he's going to be good to go.
Well, Lance for the Dodgers is more to certainty for next year. If I'm assuming it's the option, a player option that he's got, that you get certainty, or he's under contract for next year.
He's got another year. Joe Kelly has team option on his contract.
That's certainty, at least for your rotation with the Dodgers, and especially how the last couple of years have gone with injuries to their pitching. You need certainty right now.
Guys, I do want to tell you this, okay? Got like another segment to go. But before I leave, just know this. Alex broke this computer over here. It's popping up. It says Trojan spyware. And it's something finance, track, security services. It's all gone downhill.
What did you Google?
I was going trade rumors.
You misspelled
something wrong? Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
That was Alex.
The blinking red words don't bode well for you moving forward.
I'm just going to download the software that they told me to download really quick, so we get it.
Give me a credit card number while you're at it, BT.
Alex, I forgot my wallet.
Yeah, hold on. Let me hook you up for a minute, buddy.
All right. When we come back, we're going to get into. I'm curious to find out. With the Dodgers going and acquiring Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly, what the Cardinals will be targeting out here. I know it's pitching, but what team and who and what level? We'll get into that next here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN.
You are such a goof. focus on the pitching and give away all our hitting? How is that going to fix anything?
Well, that was the voice of our best friend, Janet, weighing in on that one there, Brad, and she's not completely wrong.
Oh, no, you can't rob Peter to pay Paul all the time.
You'd be just doing that same, like, back and forth, like tennis.
Yeah, or ping pong.
Or badminton.
What's that?
Badminton.
Badminton.
Yeah, that's what I said.
No, you threw a G in there.
No.
Like volleyball.
No. You're hearing things.
I heard an N.
Yeah, it said badminton.
What?
I had badminton.
Guys, quit screwing around. Okay, so the Cardinals.
When I was, I want to go on vacation. I want to go skiing, but I want to get a ski-doo.
Yeah.
Ski-doo?
Yeah.
A skidoo.
What's that? A skidoo.
Yeah. It's a snow machine.
That sounds like a catchphrase. Skidoo.
It's one of my favorites.
It's the best one ever.
When I said a skidoo, you're like, a skidoo? Like that sounds way cooler, honestly. Yeah, I want to get a skidoo.
The 52 skidoo?
The old 52 skidoo. Got the goalie pulled for doing the old 52 skidoo on this one. All right, so the Cardinals, boys, look, lots of trade rumors all over the place. And I haven't heard anything like extremely solid yet about what the Cardinals are coveting. You say pitching.
You're not.
I get it.
Yeah, you're not going to, because it's going to be names you don't know.
So let me ask you something.
When I say you, I mean me, too.
No, that's fine. So how much of a risk is that, BT? Like acquiring cost-controlled upside pitching that you really don't know about.
Yeah, well, it's not much of a risk when you're talking about trading away your free agents, right? It's not much of a risk when you're talking about...
Yeah, but you got to stock the cupboards, man.
I get it, but you got 3 guys that are walking out the door. 4, technically, because Stratton is going to be walking out the door as well. So you got 4 free agents that will be leaving. You would get nothing for them other than a compensatory pick at the end of things if they sign a big enough contract, right? So there's no risk in trading off your free agents other than you go on a magical run. You'd be like, boy, I wish we had Jordan Hicks right now to shut the door. Like, that would be a bit of a risk. Or wish we had Jordan Montgomery to eat up some innings. Like, those are your risks. But when you're sitting as far back in the division right now, I don't think that you can think about those risks. But here's where you really have to be great. You have to evaluate other people's talent. And I think it is a fair thing to say when you look at internally when there have been some trades as of late. There have been very good trades also. Nobody's griped about the Goldie trade. Nobody's griped about the Arenado trade. Those have been great. And I think that the Cardinals evaluated the talent going the other way quite well. But there have been some others that we continue to point at. I don't even have one off the top of my head. I just think that there might be some
hard
that
to remember.
people are, yes, you're driving in a car and you remember a random name. Doesn't matter how many syllables.
So many of them. That's the problem.
How many syllables it has, you know?
You're right.
But so you have to properly evaluate your talent and the talent that's coming in. And that's when you're leaning heavily on your front office, you're leaning heavily on your scouts that are out there. And you better trust in your group. Like, that's the thing. So, yes, they're going to be looking for a lot of pitching. You're looking for, in some of your bigger deals, you want guys that are AA, AAA, maybe some guys that have had knocks on the door at the big leagues, cups of coffee. You want young guys like that with upside. And guess what? Everybody wants young guys with upside. So how do you evaluate that pitching a little bit differently? How do you find that little something you say, okay, well, I'm seeing something in this prospect that another organization might not be seeing? Or, hey, I would rather have this guy thrown in that deal than that guy thrown in that deal. Like, do they have the right pieces around to do that? That's going to be one of the biggest questions. But it's not going to just be, obviously, it's not going to be just pitching that comes back. There will be low-level prospects. There will be, you say, they didn't need a catcher. They need a player.
Doesn't
right?
matter.
These are all commodities.
Yeah, and sometimes you take on other people's
salaries,
lessers,
of course,
or whatever, because it'll be like, okay, fine, we'll do the deal, but we got too many guys over here. You got to take this catcher. You got to take this outfielder.
Big time.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if I see the Cardinals taking on salary in any deals, but I think that they could if they wanted to. Like, you just got the wheels turning now when I'm thinking about it. If you do trade off Montgomery and you trade off Jack Flaherty, instead of simply pivoting to, okay, well, here comes Libby, here comes Jake Woodford, if there were a deal out there for a starting pitcher who's costing money, who's had a crappy year, like, guy's just not been good, but it attaches a prospect to it, would they be inclined to do that? Would they take on some of that money?
So
I think that might actually be a smart thing to do, and you save some young guys.
So that's kind of where my head was at, about 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, just when we were talking about Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly. And obviously now it's a moot point, but my thought process behind it was, yes, you're not going out to sign these guys to big contracts. You already know what the dollar value is attached to each guy.
Right.
but you kind of know what you're getting. So even though you're selling off the free agents, you still have to stock the cupboards with something. And you can't, for me, I find it risky to just fill the basket with young arms.
Well, you can't just do it with low-level prospects either.
No, exactly. So I think this is a really, really tricky trade deadline for John Mozeliak and the Cardinals, because they're going to have to identify what it is they covet the most. Are they looking for a guy to come in, be a placeholder for a year?
Yeah.
While some of the young talent evolves, and some of the young talent has to hit. Like, they have to be ready to go next year. And then you better be willing to spend some money in the offseason. I've said it, I don't know if you were on the show when I said it, but this is the summer for me, or the offseason, where the DeWitts and the Cardinals overall have to say, we're getting either Nola or Snell. I don't care what the price tag is. We're getting one of them. And you gotta go for it.
No, I don't disagree with that. You need somebody at the top of your rotation. If you want to go compete in 2024, you need a dude. In my opinion, we talked about this last year. You need a dude. It has come to fruition. You didn't have that, and in large part, you struggled. Going back to the what do you covet, right? Without having like names of everybody's prospects.
Yeah, that's so hard.
You want the best pitching prospects you can get, right? Right now, the Rangers are interested apparently in Jordan Hicks. That's one of the biggest rumors that are out there because I guess those extension talks maybe have stalled a little bit, or who knows. But everybody should be interested in Jordan Hicks. When I'm looking at what pieces do you want to bring in, I'm looking at a skill set, okay? What do the Cardinals not have much of at all? Swing and miss. Like, they don't have stuff. I need stuff coming back, okay? And this could be stuff. You might look at it. We might see a trade happen, and there will be a couple of guys. And be like, dude's got a 7 ERA at AA. What are we doing? Don't look at that. Look at what does this stuff look like? Well, how does it project? Like, these guys have all these numbers.
What do you look for? What stat are you isolating?
You're digging in a lot of different things, right? Like, do you have an elite pitch? Like, when you're looking at all of the spin rates and the extension and all the data that they have, which might bore all of us to death, but like really when you're digging in, these are the differences on some of these pitches. Do they tunnel well? Does he have a elite rise on his fastball? Rise the wrong term. Do you understand? Does it stay true? Is there something about this guy that we can turn into something else? Like, you're looking for skill sets at this point. You know everything about all these prospects. There's write-ups about everybody. Randy Flores, the scouting director of the Cardinals, for all these young guys out there, they've done reports on all these guys already, like pre-draft years ago for many of these guys. You have scouts across the league that cover all of these teams, but then how do you isolate it and say, okay, well, this right here makes sense, and we can make that even better? I'm looking for skill sets at this point. I'm looking for high-octane velo. I'm looking for swing and miss breaking stuff. And everybody's looking for stuff like this. Can you find that maybe unturn a rock that somebody else hasn't done for some of these prospects?
The two things that I've been curious about when it comes to that trade deadline is quality over quantity, rather than getting 3 guys in return for who you're trading out. If you're getting one guy and he's got that stuff that you're searching for, does that make more sense? But also, and I've seen a lot of people say, well, you don't need position players, you need pitchers. What if somebody's willing to give you a good enough position player prospect and you're able to flip that in the offseason?
Yeah, no, you take it. You take the best return that you can possibly get. But that's where it goes to being the team right now that is a seller as opposed to being one of the many buyers. You should have the opportunity to be a little bit more selective. But as time narrows a little bit, there's only so much time you can put into digging into this deal, digging into that deal. Like, at some point, you have to take your best deal. The problem is those best deals tend to come late. And I've never been in this scenario before. I'm not sure I'd want to be in that scenario where you're the one pulling the trigger on these deals that are late. But they're going to have to make sure that they find the best return that is out there. And just in talking to the front office this past week, I mean, they were on the road trip. Everybody was there in Arizona. Like, it is nonstop right now. The phones are ringing all the time. Meetings are happening all the time. And they're trying to figure out how to best place the Cardinals in a good position for 2024.
That's Brad Thompson. He's on the broadcast tonight, Bally Sports Midwest. What time's first pitch, PT?
First pitch is 7:15.
7:15, but you're pre and post, aren't you?
You should definitely check out the pregame, too.
Pregame, postgame, in-game. All the time. Our guy, BT.
And then I'll have a drink with somebody afterwards.
There you go. He's Brad Thompson. Catch him on Bally's tonight. BT, thanks a lot for coming by here. Love having you in the studio.
I got lost on the way. It's been too long. This is way more fun. It's way easier.
It's been a while. All right, buddy. Thanks a lot. What's trending? Coming up next here in the Fast Lane.
What's trending in the world of sports? The Fast Lane has you covered. What's trending now?
Brought to you by Goodwill. Donate to Goodwill and get a half-price Cardinals ticket voucher.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. Jamie Rivers, our guy Alex Ferrario filling in for Anthony Stalter. I'm Andrew Marsh, and it's time for What's Trending. Guys, game number 2 of the Leagues Cup group stage last night between St. Louis City SC and Club America did not go so well for City SC. A clean sheet for Club America, a 4-0 victory, and it started off early, and it didn't seem like City SC was really in it the entire match.
So, Marshy, I was engulfed pretty much in the Cardinals game. Did City SC play more starters?
Yeah, they did.
I think they started about probably as close to like a starting lineup as possible for that match.
Not great.
It was interesting. It was my first City SC match that I went to at City Park. I actually had a lot of fun, minus the score. Club America, they're a good squad though. Like,
I see that they brought a whole bunch of fans with them too?
There was a ton of fans. Technically, it was an away game for City SC with how the Leagues Cup worked. It was really weird. They were playing like Club America songs and whatnot throughout the game.
Do they not have a building?
They do, but like the way that
I think that's how this goes, where you get a traveling team to different places that are the home teams, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know like the ins and outs of the tournament, but that's what I saw, that it was technically an away game, but nonetheless, like the atmosphere was still cool, at least for me being my first time there. But they were super fast, and you could just see like the defense was not on their game last night. So, I mean, I don't know where City SC goes from here in terms of how they kind of correct their defensive play. Granted, it's not a regular season game. They're playing a complete different team, a complete different league. But, I thought it was kind of a crappy showing last night, unfortunately.
It's a bit of a wake-up call, too. That doesn't hurt for a team that has had the success that they've had. It's not that they've taken it for granted, but you know, they are having a very successful inaugural season, and this game really doesn't mean anything as far as the standings, and that it's good. Every now and then, a little slap in the face is good.
They picked apart the defense, which I think that's what everybody who's watched City this season knows. That's their weakest area, is their defensive line. They picked them apart last night.
Yeah, Roman Berkey was out on an island last night.
He
could only do so much.
I just see him be a bitter beer face for the entire second half.
Well, they had a
know that feeling. They had especially in St. Louis for a goaltender.
A close-up of Roman Berkey after one of the, I don't know if a goal went in, but they had a really good opportunity, and you could see the close-up, and he was mouthing, a few words, which rightfully so, being the way that the defense
probably ordering
broke
his
down.
beer for that after the match.
Yeah, but when Anthony asked him, like, hey, why are you yelling? And he's like, oh, it's so loud. I completely understand. I mean, they are the supporters section. They're playing, the drums. They got the chants going the entire match. It's
Did you
hard
sit
to hear.
down, Marshy?
No, I did not. I was in the supporter section. I swear I did not sit down.
You were in the supporter section?
I was in the supporter section.
Look at you sick son.
How long did you stand for?
The entire time. God. I didn't sit down until I got into my, to go home and lay down on my couch was the first time I was able to, lay down since I sat in this chair yesterday during the show.
Slept like a baby, didn't you?
I did. I really did.
You climbed those legs, let the blood flow back down.
It was great. Sometimes I fall asleep on the couch, too, but last night I was like, I got to get to my bed for sure. How about Vladimir Tarasenko, though, huh? He signs with the Ottawa Senators, $5 million, 1 year. What do you think about this move?
Well, it's more money than I thought he was going to get, to be honest. I don't know how this one works out. I really don't. Vladdy is an acquired taste sometimes when it comes to locker room stuff. He's a very talented player. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you can't deny that. But does he fit with what Ottawa is doing? That's where I look at it and I go, I just don't know if this is a fit. Yes, he's a good player. Yes, he will create offense. But they have a really good young base of players there.
Tight-knit group, too.
And I just don't know if bringing a strong personality that has sometimes kind of conflicted with teammates in the past. I don't know if that works, but maybe this has been a little bit of a wake-up call for Vladdy. The whole ordeal.
Right.
Maybe he's going to be like, hey, you know what? I just want to score a bunch of goals.
Did you see the report earlier today, too, from Spectre's Hockey that said apparently he had a 4-year deal worth what they're paying him now early in the offseason from Ottawa, and he didn't take it. I guess he thought that there was more out there, or maybe he didn't want to go to Ottawa. And to end on a 1-year deal, that's a prove-it deal. And, I mean, you're getting significant money for it, but correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie, not on the area, but the team you're going to, I don't know if that's the team, if I'm Vladimir Tarasenko at 31, that I go to on a prove-it deal, if that makes sense.
Actually, I'm fine with it.
Really?
They got so much offensive upside on that team.
But what I mean is he might be going into that like a second or third line winger for them.
Well, he'll definitely be a second line player. He's not going to be first line player, but he'll get a lot of power play time. Yeah. Wherever DeBrincat played last year, as far as slotting in, that's where Vladdy's going to play.
That's a good point.
This upcoming season. Then look if it's a prove-it year for Vladdy, then prove it right away to Ottawa too. Like, prove that you deserve to be on the first power play. Prove that you deserve to play on the first line with Tkachuk and Stützle. Prove something.
Right.
So we'll see. Yeah, 1-year deal. It's an odd situation for a guy that's so established to have to go back and, reset the market.
Yeah.
But, again, I blame nobody but Vladdy for that.
I agree.
By the way, I wanted to circle back to the City SC conversation we were just having. We got a couple text messages from the Air Comfort Service text line. From the 636, Club America is one of the top clubs in all of North America. They have 13 national team members on their squad, which is pretty crazy. And then from the 314, Club America is the best team in North America. Last night showed the need for the MLS to keep growing. Love SC still, though. So, that was a tough matchup for City SC, but... Man, going up against one of the best teams.
You got
in
a
that
taste
league.
of how the rich live.
Exactly. I want to move to the football field, not the pitch. How about Dalvin Cook? He says he's high on the Jets ahead of his visit, and he could possibly be a New York Jet here soon. If he does become part of that backfield, how does that team look in the AFC East?
Question for you, Jamie. Some clarification.
Sure.
Is he high on the Jets, or is he high on the Jets?
Or is he just high on a jet?
I mean, he's going to play with Aaron Rodgers. Trying to get there.
There's a lot. Yeah, maybe Aaron threw a little ayahuasca his way.
How do you get a guy to come to where you want him to come?
Interesting.
You get high on the team.
Yeah, so Dalvin Cook... when he was going to have his visit with the Jets, I thought it was his done deal. I thought he'd be going there and signing, and they'd make a whole big thing of it. So the fact that he hasn't signed yet, I don't know. Maybe there's a couple of details that have to be ironed out. But if you're him, why would you not sign there? There's going to be a tremendous amount of attention to that team this year. You've got Aaron Rodgers. The only thing I'd say is that with Aaron Rodgers, he may not be as busy as he has been, but maybe that's good. Finding out how the running backs feel about all this being worked into the ground and not being paid for it, and maybe it's a better thing to go to a team that's going to be throwing it out a lot.
Yeah,
well, a lot of blocking though. Then
but the one thing you know about Aaron Rodgers is he loves to get his running backs involved. At least that's how he's been in Green Bay. Aaron Jones, and especially in terms of throwing to him, so it makes sense. The part for me is Aaron Rodgers doesn't take less money after what he signed for with guaranteed if you're not bringing in a Dalvin Cook. Now, maybe the New England Patriots were the other rumored team to be involved. Maybe Bill Belichick's trying to make his last-ditch effort to get Dalvin Cook there. But, I mean, if you're Dalvin and you want to win and make Minnesota regret what they did, that would be the team I'm going to.
Guys, you were talking about this a little bit earlier when BT was here, but Bob Nightingale earlier today, he tweeted out the Texas Rangers are aggressively pursuing Cardinals closer Jordan Hicks. Hicks is a free agent at the end of the season and will be moved only if the Cardinals can't sign him to a contract extension before Tuesday. We'll have Levi Weaver on, who's a staff writer for The Athletic, who covers the Texas Rangers on at 3:45. But what were your first impressions when you saw that news on your Twitter feed, or X feed as Elon Musk likes to call it?
Yeah, the X feed.
Or whatever. I don't even know if he calls it that.
I don't even know what it's called anymore.
That's what you don't Google if you're BT on the computer.
That's a good point.
That's how you get the flashing red lights.
Yeah, he'll be very careful with that. I don't know what I feel about it. I think that it's natural that you have a guy that is in his last year of his contract that is having the season that he's having right now, the teams are going to call. And the Rangers are a team that I've been circling them as a team that needs to go for it. Heck, I thought they should have been in on the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes, which maybe they were, but the Angels ultimately deciding that they'd rather just hang on to Ohtani, lose him, and then suck for the next 5 years. It's fine too, either way. But yeah, I think it's probably going to heat up even more. I think there'll be more teams rumored into the Jordan Hicks sweepstakes if the Cardinals can't work out an extension, which it doesn't sound promising right now that they're going to be able to do that.
It makes sense the Rangers, too, because the Rangers already got Aroldis Chapman to strengthen that bullpen. He's a lefty. You go get a righty like a Jordan Hicks. And the thing for the Cardinals is it's good if teams are aggressively pursuing, which I never understood when the reports were, they're trying to get an extension. He's more than likely, depending on what the Padres do with Josh Hader, is the best available back end of the rotation reliever at the trade deadline, and that's going to get you something significant. So when you look at the Texas Rangers, my first thought was, great, who else can I package with him to Texas to make that offer better? Because if I'm going to want pitching and some of the better pitching, Texas is going to have some of those guys like Jack Leiter. BT and I were talking about Kumar Rocker. These are guys that you find a way to get, package some players together with Hicks to see what Texas wants.
Yeah, and I do believe the Rangers are looking at this as a go-for-it year.
You have to.
And so if that's the case, then they might be a little more willing to part with some of the top-end prospects.
Speaking of trades, the Dodgers have acquired Lance Lynn and reliever Joe Kelly, two former Cardinals. And Jamie, you mentioned last week and even this week that you would love to have those two guys on the team. Where does that put the Dodgers in the National League in terms of where they rank, up against, let's say, the Braves?
Yeah.
Are they at the top?
I don't know. Like the Braves, man, when they're on their game, that's just a freaking juggernaut right there. Now, the Braves also, a little inconsistent in the pitching department this year. But I look at the Dodgers, and I just think to myself, like they have to keep going. They have to keep adding. If they were even thinking about Shohei Ohtani as well at the deadline, well, that ship has sailed, so now you've got to add. And they added Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly, but that's not enough. They've got more stuff to do, which is why they've been rumored in with the Cardinals as far as Flaherty and Montgomery are concerned. I still think the Braves are still the number one team to beat in the National League, but the Dodgers obviously are right there.
Yeah, I mean, this was only, to me, one of the many moves that still should come for the Dodgers, because if you look at their roster right now, and specifically their starting pitchers, Walker Buehler on the 60-day IL, you've got Daniel Hudson on the 60-day IL, Clayton Kershaw, Dustin May, Shelby Miller, Jimmy Nelson. Pretty much their entire rotation is on the 60-day IL. Getting Lance Lynn, great, because that's giving you some certainty, and he's in your rotation. I don't know if I think that they're done in terms of potentially trading for a Jack Flaherty. Plus, if you're the Dodgers, you're right, Jamie. Like, you've got the Braves that are still significantly better than you. I personally think the Diamondbacks have been very impressive, and depending on what they do, they're probably still better than you. So the Cardinals and the Dodgers still make some sense between now and Tuesday.
Now, the White Sox have been busy, too, today. They've had a couple of different trades going out there. What do you guys think that does to the Cardinals market? Because if the White Sox are getting out ahead of things right now, are they winning because they're out ahead, getting this stuff done before there's a sweepstakes, or is it better to hang on and wait to the very end?
Me personally, I would say you wait and hang on, because the price is just going to go up. Frankly, the White Sox are unloading it all, so they're not going to have anybody other than if they decide to move Dylan Cease, which they've said no to. Who else are they moving between now and Tuesday? So if I'm a team that needs starting pitching or bullpen help, well, now I could cross the White Sox name off the list. So who am I calling?
Yeah.
Cardinals. So unless somebody else, if San Diego truly becomes a seller, I mean, I would sit there and wait until Tuesday, because sooner or later, teams that want to make significant upgrades aren't going to have any other options available other than the Cardinals.
He's Alex Ferrario. I'm Jamie Rivers, Andrew Marsh on the dials. We got the voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber, coming up next here on 101 ESPN. 3:17 here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, official provider of Rolex Jewelry. We head out to the celebrity line to be joined by none other than the voice of your St. Louis Blues, Chris Kerber. Kerbs, how we doing today, bud?
Jamie, I'm doing awesome. Just bracing myself for an evening where my wife, taking my wife to go see Brett Michaels, and I'm just bracing myself for that evening as she's a massive Poison fan. So this is a big day in the Kerber household, apparently.
I love it, Curbs. What you have to do is surprise her by wearing a bandana tonight.
Just going to ask that.
I won't make you wear the mullet wig for that, but just show up when you're ready to go with a red bandana, maybe some eyeliner around your eyes.
Buy one of those fake arm sleeves.
Yeah, a little arm sleeve. I think, you know what, Curbs, it might help you.
Okay, first off, I've tried wearing the hat. It didn't work the first time. Secondly, thanks to the legendary Tommy Mattern, this was a Christmas gift for Christy, set up with a meet and greet there. So, this is going to be a little over the top, and I'll just wait outside the tour bus.
That's amazing.
Oh man.
I don't know. Am I allowed to say that? I don't know.
No, yeah, you just did.
Yeah, you're just one of the many groupies.
Yeah, I'm with you, Curbs. Just let it happen, man.
Come on, man. Give me a guitar pick, man.
Now, who else is on that bill over there? It's a lot of different bands.
Yeah, you know what? They've got some guy named Steve that was the lead singer of Journey, but it's not Steve Perry. And then I think I saw a Night Ranger on there. Now, the last time I saw a Night Ranger perform, honest to goodness, I think it was at a bar called Senior Frogs in Birmingham, Alabama. So,
wow,
Senior
Frogs. They're making a comeback.
They had one here too.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. Right. I think it was right there off of Manchester, right, just west of or east of Barry Road.
Yes, it was.
They had one Lake of the Ozarks too, I think.
I mean,
and that
I
place...
hear. I never went there, Kurt.
Jamie never frequented it.
Yeah, so it'll be a good night.
Yeah, so Curbs, we were just talking about this in our What's Trending segment, but Vladimir Tarasenko signs the one-year deal, $5 million in Ottawa. Just your thoughts initially of it, the thoughts of the dollar value, the term, and the fit with Ottawa.
I think Vladimir Tarasenko. Jamie, you're the former player, man. I always defer to you guys when it comes to this But in my opinion, I just think that Vladimir Tarasenko got a real dose of reality of where his value is, and maybe whether it was inflated reality because of his agent, but it's been a couple of years of mismanagement, a couple of years of not handling things properly on the agent side of things. And it snowballed into this year. Instead of a guy that should have gotten a multi-year deal, right, to find a one-year deal at $5 million, it tells you something. And guys, there's a tale of two tapes here. You saw what happened to Vladimir Tarasenko, who's now going to go to Ottawa, and it'll be a good up-and-coming team for him. So I'm excited for him on that. But then look at what Ryan O'Reilly did. A 4-year deal at 4 points. He knew right where his value was. Decided they've made enough money to be able to make a lifestyle choice on this one. And, I don't know how much easier it's going to be at 32 to get a long-term deal, Jamie. That's the thing for me.
Yeah, so I agree, Curves. You talk about the Ryan O'Reilly deal. I think that one there, Ryan O'Reilly and knowing Barry Trotz and the whole situation surrounding it, they're looking for a culture change in Nashville. And I think this is where the scouting report / character of Ryan O'Reilly helped him get this contract, because he's obviously a great locker room guy, great culture guy, hard worker. But the flip side of it, where I think the difference kind of lies, is there's been some turbulence surrounding Vladdy in the last, couple years. It may have sometimes go back maybe even 5 years. There's been some things that have gone on. And do you think that played into this in any capacity?
Well, I think it absolutely has to. And, he fell victim to the final year of the flat cap. Look, when you hit free agency at the age of 30, 31, and you realize this next contract might be kind of the last kind of major contract, you could add some 1 year and 2 years after this one, right? And it's in that flat cap era. You just had to look at how many teams are butted up against the salary cap. And if you're Vladimir, there's no doubt he probably wanted to stay in New York, I don't know that his performance lit up the Rangers enough and Chris Drury enough to sign him to any kind of a big deal. And it's unfortunate for those guys, but you just looked at it and your options are very limited in terms of going to a team you feel is a contending team right now. And it's more and more difficult now. And this, by the way, and boy, I know you'll remember this one big time, Jamie, but one of the big arguments that the Players Association made in 04-05 with the salary cap era, how it's eventually going to end veterans' careers before they probably need to be done. And we've seen that. And so you've seen, because of the salary cap now, veterans get to a certain point and then they either have to sign for a lot less to continue their career or they hang it up. And I think Vladimir, in this case, just got caught in the flat cap era where not a lot of teams had extra dollars to spend.
Curbs, the other news around the NHL over the last 24 hours has been the Arizona Coyotes and getting Logan Cooley to commit to the Arizona team rather than going back to college. And I was thinking of this last night. The Arizona Coyotes, although a team that is still in that rebuild, a team that's putting some competitiveness together with their roster that could at least make some things interesting for this upcoming season in the Central.
You know what? And I've got a special affinity for the Arizona Coyotes because we were affiliated with them when I was in Springfield a long time back, and my first NHL game was a Coyotes-Flyers game, filling in on Coyotes radio. So, I got a little special soft spot in my heart for those guys. But I got to tell you, at some point in time, they need to blank or get off the pot. It's a joke how bad they have been for as long as they've been. Their ownership issues have crippled that franchise. Their ownership issues over the years have made it just impossible, and the arena location issues and the arena stuff has made it impossible for the fan base to really grow. And it's been a long time since those fans out there, and I think it's a fine market for the NHL, have had something to really root for and go for. So good for them that they were able to get him. I'm surprised that he did. I know Jamie and I talked about this a long time back. I wonder if you're Logan Cooley, I almost want to kind of would have been curious to wait and see where this goes, because who knows if you're signing with Arizona and yet you could end up in Salt Lake City or wherever that team may go if they can't figure out their situation. So, but good for them. And it's going to make the division better. It's going to make the competition in the Central Division better. But the Arizona Coyotes have to finally start finding a way to win. The days of tanking to get high draft picks have got to stop for them, and I think it's time for them to turn that corner.
Curbs, I want you to have an incredible time tonight with your lovely bride and enjoy the party gras.
Would you say, Jamie?
Yeah, that's what they're calling it.
Yeah.
Jamie, would you say you want Curbs to have nothing but a good time?
Yeah, Curbs, I want you to have nothing but a good time. You're welcome, Curbs.
Just every rose has its thorn, and we'll sit out there with some fallen angels, I guess.
There you go, buddy. There you go. All right, that's Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, joining us. Curbs, have a great time tonight, buddy.
All right, cheers, guys. Have a great weekend.
All right, take care. You too. All right, Alex, we come back. We've got a great little game here. Our guy, Marshy, I saw the smoke coming out of his ears earlier. He's putting together this segment coming up, and it's called Narrative or Reality. Next on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cards lose 10-3 to the Cubs last night. Mikolas went 2/3 of an inning due to being ejected due to hitting Ian Happ after Happ hit Contreras in the back of the head in the first inning. The Cards will try and find some retribution tonight against the Cubs as Jordan Montgomery takes the mound. 7:15 first pitch. In Game 2 of the League's Cup group stage, Club America got a clean sheet 4-0 over City SC. We just talked with Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, right here on the Blues Radio Network. If you missed that interview, make sure you go to 101ESPN.com or check out the 101 mobile app. It's all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. We have Narrative or Reality coming up next right here in the Fast Lane. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Fastlane here on 101 ESPN. Jamie Rivers, Alex Ferrario in here until 4 o'clock. Our guy Marshy has got narrative or reality.
All right, gentlemen, let's start off with Mikolas and the ejection last night. A lot of people not too fond of the umpires, and they really haven't been fond of these umpires all season long. Narrative or reality? The umpires have screwed the Cardinals out of a few wins this season.
Oh, God.
I'm going to go narrative on this one. The umpires are crappy for every team in the league at different times. They also sometimes make calls where I'm like, how the hell did he get that right? So, just like anybody else, umpires have good days and bad days. I'm not going to sit here and say that they've screwed the Cardinals out of games. If you look at yesterday, not ideal to lose your starting pitcher in the first couple of, 14 pitches in. But Mikolas went back to the well. He high and tight with the first one and then right back at it. I mean, it is what it is. But I'm Alex, I don't know how you feel. For me, it's narrative.
No, I'm the exact same way with you. Frankly, the reality from that game is Mikolas hits him on the first pitch. Mikolas is pitching the rest of that game, and the Cardinals have a chance to win. He misses there, you got to go back to the well like we talked about with BT. So, there are certain situations when officiating is bad and ruins a game, but to say it has ruined a season or taken wins away, I'm going to say that's a narrative.
We just talked with Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues right here on the Blues Radio Network, and we talked a little bit about Vladimir Tarasenko's situation. Narrative or reality, Tarasenko's off-ice situation led to his current contract and not his on-ice play.
I'm going to say that this is reality. And I don't think it's just his off-ice issues that got him into this position. I think some of it is the flat cap that Kerbs mentioned. I think some of it is the underwhelming performance with the Rangers that got him here. But I don't think it helps Vladimir Tarasenko of how it went down those last couple of years with the St. Louis Blues. And then you go to New York, you don't get the performance that maybe a lot of people were expecting from him. And then you hit the free agent market and watch everyone else go. So I'm going to say this is a little bit of reality.
Yeah, I think it's narrative. And the reason I say narrative is because his on-ice play, too, contributed to this. So the reality of it, the whole situation, is that you have this baggage that has followed this player from the last handful of years, whether it's just been the trade rumors, the injuries, the trade request, all that stuff happening. That's one thing, but his on-ice play wasn't spectacular last year.
No.
In 38 games with the St. Louis Blues, he had 10 goals, 19 assists, 29 points. Not bad, but it really wasn't great. In New York, 31 games, 8 goals, 13 assists, 21 points. To me, that's not a $7.5 million player.
Or a multi-year player around
He's not a guy where I'm licking my chops going, I gotta have this guy.
Right.
Like if he would have put up 30 goals plus last year, and you've got the white noise of the off-ice stuff, you're like, you know what? Maybe he just needed a change of scenery. When you have a guy that looked a little slower too, by the way, he didn't have that gear where what we're used to seeing Vladdy, that 1 or 2 quick strides and he's off to the races. It wasn't quite there last year, and that affected his offensive output. You couple that with, all the extracurricular off ice, whatever you want to call it. I think that's where his value got diminished.
And I think it also hurt him too, Rivs, to where you lose a lot of teams that are willing to bring you in, and you cross a lot of teams off if you're Vladimir Tarasenko, if it's only a 1-year deal. So now you're just narrowing that gap even smaller and smaller and smaller to the teams that you'd be willing to go to.
Let's go to the baseball diamond. A narrative or reality, the Cardinals' stock in their offense is a direct result of their regressive defensive play.
Okay, so this is offense versus defense. Where are they allocating more time is kind of what we're saying, right?
Yes.
And because they appear to spend more time on the offense, to feel like the defense has suffered. Wow. Okay, so a couple things here. One, the defense certainly isn't what we're accustomed to seeing here. But I'm not around enough at the stadium to say that they're not spending the same amount of time. You know what I mean? I'd have to be at the ballpark every day watching what they're doing while there's BP going on, who's taking ground balls, who's out in the outfield shagging. I'm just like, I don't have enough information to say that they're spending more time. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and two, if you just look at their defense and the falters that they have compared to how great the offense has been, and I'm assuming from this, you're talking about how you're just giving more to the offense. You want the best offense in there and substitute the defense.
Yep.
I think you can say that in certain positions, like obviously at the catcher position, it's been that way. In right field or outfield, it's been that way because of Jordan Walker. But my rebuttal to that would be, what else are you doing? I mean, you absolutely play Andrew Kisner behind the plate, but you're not paying him $87.5 million. And I don't care that Jordan Walker's bad in the outfield. I know BK talks about it a lot, but hey, I need that bat and I need him to take some reps. So I would say this is more narrative than reality.
We saw Aaron Rodgers take a pay cut, which I found to be hilarious and interesting. Narrative or reality, Aaron Rodgers is not as selfish as he was portrayed to be in Green Bay.
Oh, I don't think he's a selfish guy. Okay, I think he's an arrogant guy. That's for sure.
Very true.
I don't necessarily think he's selfish. A lot of his teammates that he's had, they speak highly of him. We haven't had the guy come out that's like, man, he's just the worst guy and all about Aaron Rodgers. You'd think you'd have heard that by now, just based on the fact that he is so weird in what he does and some of the things that somebody come out and be like, that guy's just an ass.
Yeah.
We haven't heard that. So I don't think he's a selfish player. I do think there's a certain amount of ego involved in it too, though, where Aaron Rodgers, don't let it fool you here that he's such a great guy that he took a pay cut and all this. He took a pay cut because his ego doesn't want him to go to New York and fail. And by giving the team more money that they have at their disposal, they can go put better players around them, which means when Aaron Rodgers got traded from Green Bay that didn't have a very good season last year to the New York Jets, and now the New York Jets are back in the playoffs, vote Rodgers. He's the best guy ever. That too plays into this.
The poster boy teammate right now because of what he's doing in New York. I think the selfishness is more on just wanting to be out of Green Bay to get to New York. That's where the selfishness came into play. But I also understand where he's coming from as a player because Green Bay never really went after it in terms of the draft and players available to upgrade that team for him. So the selfishness came in terms of just getting out of Green Bay. But I don't think this is more selfishness or great teammate more than this is just ego of him and not wanting to be a failure in New York when you're there for 2 years.
We've seen Roman Berkey be spectacular this year for City SC in their inaugural season. Narrative or reality, City SC will falter in the second half if they don't tighten up defensively.
Well, apparently using Club America as a guideline was dumb. So, because they're like rock stars.
Well, the good news for City is none of the MLS teams are as good as Club America, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, so far the defense for St. Louis City SC has managed to do okay now, thanks to Roman Berkey, because he's been fantastic as well. I don't know if I'm using last night's game as any kind of a guideline. I think, if nothing else, it was a little bit of a reminder as to, you guys aren't the best thing in soccer. There are teams that are better, and there's teams in the MLS that are going to push them. Maybe not quite as much as Club America did last night, but nonetheless, there's still some very talented teams in the MLS, and it's not going to be an easy ride from here through the playoffs.
Yeah, the reality is for me with this, which is why I would take this as a narrative, is in the MLS, in terms of your competition this season, you clearly have the best goaltender, and when it comes to goal differential, you're the best team, which means you're scoring a ton. Your offense is one of the best, if not the best. And Roman Berkey, despite your defense struggling, has allowed you to have the second or third least amount of goals allowed. So I would say this is a narrative because City's probably one of the best in the MLS in all areas.
Last one here, narrative or reality. The Cardinals will ultimately regret extending Jack Flaherty or Jordan Hicks if they do so.
Well, I'll go with reality because that's kind of what the projection is here. You know, Jack Flaherty can't stay healthy, and he's had some inconsistencies in his game. He hasn't been able to be steady all the time. And with Jordan Hicks, he had some injury problems as well. And you look at the start of the season, and Jordan Hicks was about to be DFA'd. And now he's pitching great, which is fine, but is that sustainable? So I think the odds are greater that they would regret it than not. So I'll go with reality.
I'm a very strong, adamant, this is reality. You're re-signing two guys that have had one good season each. And Jack Flaherty had 2019 half, and he had the half of 2021 before he got injured. And then, of course, he's pitching well right now. But you're extending him for that track record and probably giving him 3, 4, maybe 5 years. And Jordan Hicks, you're re-signing him for the next 3 years to be your closer, and he's been that for half of a season. So I think this would be a massive regret for this Cardinals team in terms of keeping these guys rather than trading them for prospects.
That was narrative or reality here on the Fastlane on 101 ESPN. Coming up next, we've got Levi Weaver from The Athletic, who covers the Texas Rangers. We're going to get to the bottom of this Jordan Hicks thing next on 101 ESPN.
Billy's on Broadway, St. Louis's newest sports bar. BillysOnBroadway.com with live blues music several nights a week.
Meet Joe A, Hi. Joe B, Hello. And Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with autosave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect. Support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase. Make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay, Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. 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 Reese's.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. We head up to the celebrity line right now to be joined by Levi Weaver, who writes the Wind Up MLB newsletter for The Athletic. Levi, how we doing today?
Are you guys sure you got me on the right line here? Like celebrity, that feels like strong phrasing for me.
Well,
just a guy.
Well, Levi, I'm looking at your Twitter page right now, and I have some questions. One, you got your profile picture is that of a celebrity. You've got the shades going on. You're dressed up. You got the fur hat. So I like that look. But my question is your Twitter handle. I was going to throw it out there to our listeners, but is it at 32EFUS?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, what's the backstory on that?
When I was 20, I was playing in some independent little baseball league in Fort Worth, Texas, and they wanted me to pitch. I had never pitched in high school. I was always an infielder, but I was like, sure, I'll give it a shot. And I was predictably terrible. And so I gave up a couple of runs. We had a 1-run lead, and I'm just trying to get out of the inning. Got a full count. And you guys remember Rookie of the Year where his arm goes back to normal and he's like a kid. And he looks over. He looks over and his mom was like, throw the floater. And so he just throws this 24-mile-an-hour pitch. So I wound up really big and I'm kicking the dirt and acting really angry. And I threw the floater and the guy grounded out to second base and I got out of it. So just sort of that was my one moment. It's the only time I've ever pitched ever at any level. And I was like, yeah, maybe when the stakes are high, be a little bit less serious and throw the floater once in a while. So that's where the name came from.
I love it, man. I absolutely love it. We got a minor or high school baseball league story in there mixed in with Rookie of the Year.
That's how you win all of our hearts.
That's winning right there. All right, Levi, we have been kicking around some things today for obvious reasons, but the one thing that got us stirred up today was Bob Nightingale on Twitter. He wrote this: the Texas Rangers are aggressively pursuing Cardinals closer Jordan Hicks. Hicks is a free agent at the end of the season. Will be moved only if the Cardinals can't sign him to a contract extension before Tuesday. So the Cardinals apparently here, just to give you a little backstory, are having trouble getting this contract extension done with Jordan Hicks. So the Texas Rangers now on the radar. What do you think of this news?
It makes sense. I mean, the bullpen has kind of been this bugaboo all year. They've already made one move. They acquired Aroldis Chapman, but it's talking about guys that don't throw the floater. Can you imagine Aroldis Chapman and Jordan Hicks in the same bullpen?
Nightmare.
So, yeah, I mean, they're definitely looking for bullpen help. Ken Rosenthal reported this week that they had been in the mix on Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly, who those two just were traded to the Dodgers, so that option is gone. I do think they probably want another starter as well and definitely need some bullpen help. So it makes sense. It's a good matchup. I know the Cardinals have some starting pitching that is set to hit free agency as well, so maybe the Rangers are looking to swing a 2-for-1. From what I understand, the Cardinals are looking for – they're not trying to jump into a big 3 or 4 year, rebuild where they do the, lose 100 games for half a decade thing. Looking for guys that are kind of on the verge of being able to contribute at the big league level. And the Rangers have quite a few of those in their pitching ranks. They just traded Cole Reagans. Cody Bradford, I think, could be available. And you got those guys like Owen White. Glenn Otto is kind of a youngish guy that they got in the Joey Gallo trade a year or two ago. Spencer Howard is still around. I don't know how much value he's got as a starting pitcher right now. Has Jack Leiter decreased his value to the point where he's available? I don't know. But they've got some guys that are going to be in the big leagues in the next year or two that I think could fit that sort of what the Cardinals are looking for sort of setting.
So, Levi, with that being said, specifically on pitching for the Cardinals sides, they need help in their rotation and obviously some bullpen help. But I think the rotation is the part that the Cardinals are really trying to target this trade deadline. Do any of those names that you brought up kind of signify guys who could be somewhere between the 2 or 4 range in a rotation for the Cardinals next year?
I think Glenn Otto is going to be a solid number 4, I think. He's had some injury issues this year, but he has had flashes. When he was in the minor leagues before he got called up, he hardly walked anybody. Got to the big leagues, and I think just that adjustment period, he walked a few guys, but definitely has had flashes that he shows like it's in there. It's just not consistent yet, and I think that's just kind of the nature of guys that are making their way into the big leagues. He seems like a guy that can do that. Owen White, I'm still not sure if he's going to be a starting pitcher or a reliever. His velo has dipped a little bit this year. I think Jack Leiter probably still profiles as a starter, but probably not in the big leagues next year. So he may be a little further off. And I'm not sure that the Rangers are ready to give up on him and trade, sell low on Leiter for a guy that is ostensibly going to be a rental. I assume if Hicks is not going to sign an extension in St. Louis, he's probably not going to do that in Texas or wherever he lands either. So, there are some guys. Cody Bradford can be a starter around that 4-ish area. To be quite honest, I'm not sure that the Cardinals are going to be able to get somebody that profiles as a 2 for a rental relief pitcher. It's not somebody that's going to be ready by next year. Now, maybe a guy that's got a few years off and, 2026 he comes up and he's got potential to be a number 2. Okay, maybe.
Levi, if the Cardinals were to put together a package, let's say Hicks and, player X, Y, or Z, something that has value that the Rangers are kind of coveting as well as the pitching. An interesting name that Alex and I have talked about, we just had Brad Thompson in here, and he kind of kicked it around too, is Kumar Rocker. I know that the Rangers have, a good chunk of change invested in this young man, and I know he's on the mend. But would that be a player that you think they'd be willing to part with for the right package?
For the right package, yes. I'm not sure that package is going to be guys that are going to hit free agency at the end of this year, though. The Rangers have been interesting, right? They've made some very aggressive moves since Chris Young took over. Their free agency the last 2 years has been very aggressive. They brought in Seager and Simeon and John Gray that first year. Brought in Eovaldi and DeGrom and Heaney last year. So they're not afraid to go make some splashes. I'm going to be really interested to see if that level of aggression. I mean, they did that with the draft too, drafting Kumar in the first round so they could take him under slot. It worked out great because then they were able to afford Brock Porter later. But I haven't really seen that in the trade deadline yet because they haven't really been buyers. This is their first time. So I'm kind of watching this with bated breath as well to see if they're going to get aggressive enough to maybe that's in the DNA of if it takes Kumar Rocker to get the things that we think we need to be the favorites in the AL. Maybe so. I would be a little surprised if they sell low on him too, given his injury. He's not going to be back until next year. His value is probably lower than it would be if he had obviously stayed healthy and succeeded this year.
Levi, with that being said, the Cardinals have heard that teams are calling about outfielders, and obviously a lot of people in St. Louis know some of the outfielders that the Rangers had, including Adolis Garcia. But if that package were to include, say, a Dylan Carlson or a Tyler O'Neill, would that be something that Texas would get to the point and say, okay, now we can look at being aggressive if they're getting a relief pitcher or a starting pitcher and some control with a Dylan Carlson?
Yeah, that might be the ticket. Left field, it seems like every year I've done this sort of practice where I go back and look at how many left fielders have the Rangers had since David Murphy left to Cleveland. And that was after the 2011 or 2012 season. And they've had something like 60 left fielders. There hasn't been anybody. And, Evan Carter is probably on the brink of coming up at some point between him and Leody Taveras. Dustin Harris is down there somewhere. They just drafted this kid from Florida that's probably going to be a left fielder at some point soon. I don't think he's going to be in the big leagues next year, but you never know. So I feel like they've got some candidates. But, right now left field is Travis Jankowski, who's having a great year for Travis Jankowski, but can you count on that hot streak to continue through the postseason? Got to say probably not. He's probably better profiles as a fourth outfielder. Ezekiel Duran has had a very good year as a young guy, but he may end up being trade bait because not naturally an outfielder. And then, it's like Robbie Grossman, who is, I think, very expendable. So, yeah, if they get an outfielder that's got another couple years or year or two of control left, then, yeah, maybe that's the extra trade chip that makes it where the Cardinals get somebody like a more recognizable name than your Glenn Ottos and Owen Whites.
He's Levi Weaver. He writes the Wind-Up for MLB newsletter for The Athletic. You can check him out on Twitter at 32EFIS. Levi, we thank you so much for your time today, and certainly thank you for your insight.
Yeah, of course. Happy to do it.
All right. Thanks a lot. Take care, Levi. All right. So, Alex, a lot to digest there. I think the one thing that was kind of sobering for me was that there may not be as much value out there for Jordan Hicks as we thought.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
I don't know if you're really getting anything of value back.
You're probably getting bullpen help back. Yeah. That's what it sounds like, because all of the starting pitchers he's talking about, and I'm looking at the top prospect list of the Texas Rangers, and the guys that he listed off, like Jack Leiter makes sense, but I mean, you're talking about a guy who's in Double-A right now, who's 23 and struggling, to say the least, in Double-A, and Kumar Rocker, who we brought up, he's an A-ball. So they don't have guys that you look at and you say, oh, yeah, they're a part of your rotation next year, with the exception of maybe a couple. The guy that he mentioned is a guy that BK's brought up, Cody Bradford. It's a left-handed guy who's pitching at the majors right now with Texas. He started 5 games, but has been more used as a relief pitcher. Think what you got in terms of Giovanni Gallegos from the New York Yankees. If you're trading Jordan Hicks, you're probably bringing in a name that could be in your bullpen next year with potentially the upside of being a starting pitcher.
It'll be interesting to see anyways. We'll find out. The deadline is, Tuesday, right?
Yeah, Tuesday, 5 o'clock.
A lot of action going on between now and then. I'll tell you what, a lot of action coming up next, too. We've got the Gauntlet. We need a new contestant, don't we, Marshy? New contestant to the Gauntlet. So text us at 314-399-9646. Alex, thank you so much. You sticking around for one more?
I'll do the Gauntlet with you guys, if that's all right.
Alex sticking around for one more segment here. But the Gauntlet coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN presents the Gridiron Guys podcast with Anthony Stalter and Super Bowl champion Kerry Davis. Head into the trenches as the guys tackle a wide range of topics in the world of football with the latest news, unique analysis, and insight into the NFL. Download and listen to the Gridiron Guys podcast now at 101ESPN.com or on the 101 mobile app.
If you're about to trade your car to a dealership or Carvana, stop. It's your car. Why let someone else make thousands off of it? Get full retail value without the retail hassle at sellmycarstl.com. That's sellmycarstl.com.
categories, one challenger. Can you master the gauntlet?
Brought to you by Master, your hometown source for business communications for more than 30 years. Visit masstour.com.
4 o'clock here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an official provider of Rolex jewelry. It is now time for the Gauntlet, and I believe we've got Jake today in the Gauntlet. Jake, how we doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, buddy. Well,
fantastic.
Good. All right, Jake. I guess today you got Marshy, myself, or Alex to pick from. Who are you going to take down in the first match?
Let's go with Marsh.
Marshy Marsh. DJ Marshy Marsh. All right. So while Marshy cues up the wheel here. All right. Jake, tell Marshy to spin that wheel.
Spin that wheel, Marsh.
All right. What category do you absolutely not want today, Jake?
Baseball.
Baseball. All right. Well, good news. It's not baseball. Now, what would be the category that you absolutely must have?
Probably football.
All right. Bad news. It's not football. You got random today, my friend. You got random. So as I open up things here.
Got to unlock the folder, the documents.
The launch codes. We've got random. There we go. Okay, Alex, here is your copy.
Thank you, sir. Man, I feel all professional.
Oh, yeah. All right, Jake. This is how it's going to work. Each question's worth 2 points if you answer correctly without the options. If you use the options, answer correctly, it's 1 point. And, of course, if you get it wrong, well, you just get it wrong. It's 0 points. Jake, are you ready to go, my man?
Yeah, I guess so.
All right.
Sounds so confident, Jake.
I don't like your attitude right now, Jake. Come on, buddy. All right, question 1. Which state has hosted the most PGA championships?
Give me the option.
All right. Is it Florida, Ohio, or New York? New York. I said like a New York.
New York.
I'm going to say Florida, final answer.
All righty, number 2, Jake. In honor of Shark Week, what is the biggest type of shark in the ocean?
Give me the options again.
All right. Is it a tiger shark, great white shark, or a whale shark?
I'm going to say whale shark, final answer.
All right, Jake. Question number 3. This one's great. Which number between 1 and 100 has the most syllables? My goodness, Grant.
Yowzers.
I'm going to take a guess and say 87, final answer.
All right. I'm with you. I'm kind of like puzzled too.
I sat there and tried to figure that one out for a while. Final one, Jake. What is the primary stress hormone?
Options.
Is it cortisol, adrenaline, adenosine? Probably pronouncing that last one wrong.
Yeah, close enough.
Let's take that one then. Final answer.
Go with the one mispronounced. Understandable.
All right.
Tallying them.
All right, we're trying to find Marshy. He was in the cone of silence. Then
Marshy probably
ran down the hallway.
Took the bathroom break, or he's probably trying to count how many. Oh, no. Well, he's not listening, so why would he?
He's not. All right, Marshy's back into the studio. Jake, how you feeling, buddy?
Not good.
All righty. Well, we won't tell Marshy. Oh, there's Marshy. All right. Marshy, how's the cone of silence today? I saw you run down the hallway.
Yeah, we're just making sure
Getting your
things.
laps in?
Was an accident about to happen?
No, not like before.
You look like you're gripping the cheeks a little bit.
Oh, you had one of those before?
Yeah, I missed a whole show because of it, Alex.
Yeah, it was like 3 hours.
Allegedly.
We lost him in the bathroom.
I had that yesterday.
There you go.
Marshy was notorious during Blues broadcasts to leave as soon as the puck dropped and wouldn't see him until intermission.
Well,
don't take it personal,
that
Alex.
Is fabricated. And that was hey, every time I go, they end up scoring. Let's just make this somewhat of a tradition. So even if I didn't have to go, I still win.
Drop a deuce to score a deuce.
Yeah.
Commitment, Marshy, commitment.
Yep.
Well, you better pack a lunch here today.
All right.
All right, Marshy, your category is random.
All right.
Question number 1. Which state has hosted the most PGA championships?
Oh, wow. Definitely need the options on that one.
All right. Is it Florida, Ohio, or New York?
I had Florida in my mind. The weather's nicer there than the other states. Just for that reason, I'm going to go with Florida. Final answer.
All righty, Marshy. Question number 2. In honor of Shark Week, what is the biggest type of shark in the ocean?
Oh, man, I wish Anthony was here to help me with that.
No, it's not the San Jose shark.
No, these are different. These are different types of sharks.
I mean, the megalodon. I mean, I don't know. Is that even a real shark? There's a couple documentaries about it. There's actually one coming out.
Yeah, new one coming out
soon. Yeah. Let's go. I mean, I'm thinking great white, but let's just use the options.
All right. Is it a tiger shark, a great white shark, or a whale shark?
Ooh. I don't think it's a tiger shark. I think those are a little bit smaller. I think they swim closer to the reef. I mean, I'm just spitballing here. I have no idea if that's actually true. Whale shark.
Need to brush up on your Shark Week.
People think whale shark could be big because they think of whales being big. I think it might be a misdirect by Grant. He likes to do that a lot. So I'm going to stick with my first answer of great white. Final answer.
All right.
Man, that process of elimination was phenomenal.
Welcome to my process, Alex.
Sweet.
Your brain is a dangerous place like Jamie's.
I'm sure I'll get all zeros like last time.
Well, we'll find out. Question 3. This one's easy, Marshy. Which number between 1 and 100 has the most syllables?
Take us through your brain now, because...
No, don't.
My gosh.
It's just crickets.
So it's got to be 70 something. 90, 80, 70. 77. Final answer.
All righty, final one, Marshy. What is the primary stress hormone?
Can't say BK.
Primary.
That's my primary stress
primary
hormone.
Stress hormones. I have
Secondary
no
option
idea.
would be Tanner. Is it A? I'm assuming you were taking the options.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it A, cortisol, B, adrenaline, C, adenosine?
What were the three options?
Cortisol,
Okay.
adrenaline, adenosine.
For stress?
Yeah, stress hormone.
I think that last one sounds familiar. I'm not even going to repeat what it is because I don't know how to say it. Let's go with the last one you said. Final answer.
All right. Let's start right there. Question number 4. What is the primary stress hormone? Jake said adenosine or adenosine. Whatever.
It's one of the two.
Yeah, one of the two. Marshy, you also said that same word. I'm not going to butcher again. Alex, the answer is
adenosine.
Yes.
Nope, I lied. It's cortisol.
It's cortisol.
How would you do that?
That was brutal.
Had to
wasn't
get
it?
the excitement. Had to build your cortisol hormone there for a minute.
Go. All right, so nobody gets anything on that one. Let's go to question number 1. Which state has hosted the most PGA championships? Jake, you said Florida. Marshy, you said the sun's out way more in Florida. Let's just go with Florida.
I didn't say it like that.
Kind of.
I heard the tone.
A little bit. The answer is...
It's the Big Apple, New York.
Yeah,
where it's sunny all the time.
Alex, can I get a score update, please?
Yeah, that's a big goose egg, Jamie, to a big goose egg.
Oh, boy. All right. Question number 2. In honor of Shark Week, what is the biggest type of shark in the ocean? Jake, you took the option, said whale shark. Marshy, you had a whole breakdown for us. And then you didn't believe in Grant. You thought he was out to screw you over.
I don't like where this is
And you
going.
said you're going to stick with your original one. And you said great white shark. Alex, answer is?
Never doubt Grant Francis. It's a whale shark.
It is the whale shark. Do you know what, Marsh, you know how big those things are?
They're whales.
Misdirect.
A great white is, like, it's big, but it's not Jaws here.
Jaws was pretty big.
Jaws was kind of fictitious, though. Jaws was more like a megalodon.
Wait, Jaws was fake?
Well, you know what I mean.
Steven Spielberg didn't base it off of a true story.
Yeah, it was weird.
Thank God, actually.
Sorry.
Either way, it was whale shark. So that puts Jake up 1-0 right now. Final question of the day. Both of you gave different answers. Which number between 1 and 100 has the most syllables? Jake, without the options, said 87. Marshy, without the options, said 77. If Marshy's right, he'll win today in the Gauntlet. If you're both wrong, Jake wins. If Jake is right, he obviously wins. The answer is...
Oh, it's Pierre Turgeon, 77.
Jake!
You have chosen poorly.
You lose! Jake, he got you there with the last question, buddy. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I put up a good effort, right?
Yeah, random can be tricky, buddy. That's for sure.
Especially in Grant's head.
All right, thank you, guys.
All right, Jake, thanks
Good
a
job,
lot.
Jake.
Thanks for listening, man. Thanks for playing. We'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
All right, see you later. All right, so...
Marshy, like, that was impressive. The 77 was impressive.
That was pretty quick, too.
It was really quick. It was somewhat... Not somewhat. It was very impressive because... Like, the one that I thought nobody had a chance on, just because, like, with the time constraints, you're kind of, like, thinking
you're
quickly.
stressed.
Sometimes you don't think clearly. Marshy's like, he's like Rain Man on that one. He's like, it's 70. It's definitely 70. 77.
Well, you know,
he was dialed in.
It's such a smart process because as you did that, I'm thinking like, okay, well, you're going to go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Okay, 70 is the longest. And then you go through like you did of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
It was smart. It was really impressive.
Well, once I hit 70, and I'm like, okay, well, if
you did
7's,
80,
if 7's the number, then I have to double
Seven's
it.
number, not 8. Not 8-minute abs, 7-minute abs.
I don't know what that's from.
That's all right.
Am I dating myself?
A little bit.
Or are you dating yourself?
Oh, probably the latter for
Yes.
sure. All right, Alex, thanks a lot for sticking around.
Yes, sir.
Alex Ferrario headed out. BK, Brandon, Kylie going to be joining the fast lane. And we got the lineup coming up next here on 101 ESPN. It's that time of the day. It's time for the lineup. We've got a little technical difficulties going on here. I don't know if we've got BK or not on the line. Marcia, have we got him or not? No, I don't know. Marcia won't talk to me.
Yeah, we got him. I believe we got him. Let's bring him in.
BK, are you there, my man?
I'm here. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Oh, I'm so happy to see you. Oh, you look wonderful, my man. You look wonderful.
How we doing, fellas?
We're good. Now, this is the circle of trust here. Have you seen the lineup yet today?
I have not. I've been trying to figure out the technical difficulties that we've had here locally. I know that Matthew Libertor's up. That's as far as I know.
Okay, all right. Well, he's not going to be part of our lineup game, but we can talk about that after. Do you know who's starting on the bump for the Cubs? Because I just keep getting undecided on ESPN.
I have not seen who's starting for them officially.
All right, well.
Are they going bullpen today?
Yeah, I think there's like a starter, bullpen. So the latest one I've seen is that they haven't yet named who started. So I don't know. The text line here is wonderful. So 314-399-9646. If you guys can figure out who the heck is starting for the Cubs, would be greatly appreciated, because we know Ollie, he just goes with the matchups, you know? So we're kind of flying blind here.
It sounds like it's one of their top prospects, this Hayden Wazinski character.
Is he a righty or a lefty?
Hayden Wazinski is a right-handed pitcher.
Okay, that makes it. Thank you very much. Okay, so we go here. Our leadoff. Are we going Brendan Donovan?
Of course.
All
why
right.
break or why fix or what's not broken? You know the whole thing.
Yeah, no, that was well said. Very well said. Show us Brendan Donovan, please.
Sorry, guys.
What? Okay, well, we're starting off hot there, BK. Okay, so if it's not Donovan, does he go to Newt here?
I mean, I guess. Oh, Jamie, I didn't even think about this.
What?
I bet you Wilson Contreras is DHing tonight.
Okay.
Because of the whole head thing last night, I'm guessing they're not going to want him behind the plate. And Brendan Donovan, as you may know, can't throw right now.
Oh, that's right.
So it's probably Lars Nootbaar that's going to be at the top of the lineup.
Yeah, information I should have had sooner. That's on me. That's not on you. That's my own head injury that caused that one. Show us Lars Nootbaar.
1, 2, 3, 4. I'm grinding. I'm grinding.
I love that one so much.
Is that a new one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We had Marshy change all the sounders because we thought we were going to change the Cardinals' luck. That didn't work, but they're funny nonetheless. All right, so we got the Newt batting first. I think this is Paul Goldschmidt, right? Nothing to really argue about here.
Absolutely. No reason to argue here.
Show us Paul Goldschmidt. Oh, see, Marshy, another rule here, BK, because you've been out for a little bit, is if they don't hit, we don't play their sounder.
Okay, so you basically are pulling the ollie, but with the sounders.
Exactly, and we hold them accountable that way. Okay, in the 3-hole here, this one's been tricky a little bit because Ollie has massaged Arenado in there from time to time, and with Donovan out at the top of the order, does he go Gorman here, or does he go Arenado?
My guess would be Arenado here. He's been more open to the idea of hitting Arenado third lately, so I would go Arenado here, but I will defer, Jamie, to your opinion on the matter.
I always like me some Storm and Gorman, but he has gone to Nolan Arenado here recently, so I'm going to go with what I've seen from Ollie here in the past little bit. Let's show us Nolan Arenado.
No.
Son of a... I knew it, BK. You were wrong. I'm just kidding.
That's on me.
All right, it's got to be Storm and Gorman. Show us Nolan Gorman. Oh, wow. He didn't... Yep. He's got to play better to get the sounder. All right, batting cleanup then. BK, I think this is a no-brainer, right?
Do you want to do the honors, or would you like me to, Jamie?
I would like you to do it.
Nolan Arenado!
Nolan is a security guard at the lumber yard.
All right. Batting fifth. Is this where Big Willie steps in?
Gotta be. DH Wilson Contreras.
All right, Marshy, show us that Big Willie Contreras.
Wilson, are you naked?
No, Tim, I'm wearing a hat.
All right, Contreras. At the 5 spot. Okay, so at this point, I feel like this is Gorman in the 6.
Yeah, I like Gorman here. Or wait, we got Gorman batting third, right?
Oh, yeah. My bad. There's the head injury coming in again.
I would assume either O'Neill or Walker here, probably.
He's been hot on Tyler O'Neill in that spot.
Yeah.
Show us Tyler O'Neill.
My fingers hurt.
Oh, well, now your back's gonna hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty.
They're so good. They're so good.
I think BK's speechless after.
He's just shaking his head.
That's one of my favorites. We used that the other day. T-Bone pulled it out, and I was dead. I was just dying.
All right, 7 spot here. I would think it's Walker. BK, what do you think?
It's got to be. If they don't play Walker again, man, this will be like 4 off days in the last 8. You've got to play him eventually. So Jordan Walker, I would go with right here.
Show us Jordan Walker. All right. Oh, Marshy digs back into the archives to make sure he gets the sounder or not. Okay, 8. What are we missing here now?
So we got the shortstop still and a catcher.
Okay.
So I'm guessing Kisner's your catcher today. So I would think DeYoung would be here, but who knows, man? They've been going Motter sometimes as well.
Did you see that monster shot from Kisner yesterday?
It was amazing. Couple of them.
Yeah. He'll be batting 9th. Show us Paul DeYoung.
What a shame.
Oh, boy. All right. Kisner here, BK?
I'm guessing that means that Kisner.
Or is Motter catching today?
He earned his move up.
Or is Motter catching today? I mean, it's in play. All right. Show us Andrew Kisner.
I'm the captain now.
There we go. All right, Kiz Daddy. So, is this Paul DeYoung? We need a shortstop.
It's got to be either DeYoung or Motter. You make the call,
right.
Jamie.
Motter played yesterday, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, no thanks. I'll go Paul DeYoung, please. All right, Marshy, run it for us.
All right, gentlemen. Leading off, playing center field, Lars Taylor Tattooey Nootbaar. Batting second, first baseman, Paul Goldschmidt. Batting third, second baseman, Nolan Gorman. The cleanup hitter, third baseman,
Nolan Arenado.
Batting fifth, the DH, Wilson Contreras. Batting sixth in left field, Tyler O'Neill. Batting seventh in right field, Jordan Walker. Batting eighth, the catcher, Andrew Kisner. And batting ninth, the shortstop, Paul DeYoung.
Back. Stay fair! Stay fair!
Go foul!
I don't believe what I just saw!
Home run.
All right, Marshy, how about an update on the home run standings for us?
Jamie, you have 7. I have 2. Dan still has 3. And Anthony, he's catching up to you. He has 4.
Ooh, baby. All right. So, BK, I'm sure you're aware we pick a guy to hit a home run, and the stipulation is that it's the first Cardinals home run of the game. So, is it me that's up?
Yes, you have honors.
Okay. Right-handed pitcher here. This guy did not have a hit his last game. I think he's going to be 3 sheets of pissed off. I'm going Nolan Gorman for the home run. Who's next? You got you?
We'll give it to BK.
Yeah, you will.
Okay. You know what? I've been pretty impressed with the at-bats we've seen from Tyler O'Neill since his return. I'm going to go Bro Neal. Gets himself a Ding Dong Johnson tonight.
Yeah. Not a bad call, buddy, at all. All right, Marshy, what do you got?
You know what? I think after getting hit in the head last night, Wilson Contreras is going to hit the ball out of the ballpark. So he is my home run hitter tonight.
Well, he's been hitting the ball really well lately, so. All right, so I've got Gorman. BK has Tyler O'Neill, and our guy Marshy has Wilson Contreras. BK, we just got off the phone with our guy Levi Weaver in Texas, and he had some interesting things to say regarding Jordan Hicks. I want to get into that with you next here on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cards back in action tonight going up against the Cubs after losing yesterday by a final score of 10-3. Jordan Montgomery gets the mound. 7:15 first pitch. We'll talk more Cardinals baseball with our guy BK, who will join the show. We want to thank Alex Ferrario for filling in for that first 2 hours in relief for Anthony Stalter. But now we got BK to talk some Cardinals baseball coming your way. Also, last night in Game 2 of the League's Cup group stage, Club America got the best of City SC, a clean sheet, 4-0 the final. The Rangers, they're aggressively pursuing Jordan Hicks. Could the return outweigh an extension? We're going to get into that next right here in the Fast Lane. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
It's a Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. Jamie Rivers with you here from 4 to 6, the rest of the show. And we got our guy BK joining us from now until the end of the show as well. And BK, we had Levi Weaver on earlier. He's a writer for The Athletic down in Texas, covers the Rangers primarily. And he said some interesting things when we talked to him, but I'm going to set it up here. I asked him flat out, I said, what do you think the Cardinals could potentially get in a Jordan Hicks trade? And here's what he had to say.
I think Glenn Otto is going to be a solid number 4, I think. He's had some injury issues this year, but he has had flashes. When he was in the minor leagues before he got called up, he hardly walked anybody. Got to the big leagues, and I think just that adjustment period, he walked a few guys, but definitely has had flashes that he shows like, it's in there. It's just not consistent yet, and I think that's just kind of the nature of guys that are making their way into the big leagues. He seems like a guy that can do that. Owen White, I'm still not sure if he's going to be a starting pitcher or a reliever. His velo has dipped a little bit this year. I think Jack Leiter probably still profiles as a starter, but probably not in the big leagues next year, so he may be a little further off. And I'm not sure that the Rangers are ready to give up on him and trade, sell low on Leiter for a guy that is ostensibly going to be a rental. I assume if Hicks is not going to sign an extension in St. Louis, he's probably not going to do that in Texas or wherever he lands either. So, there are some guys. Cody Bradford could be a starter around that 4-ish area. To be quite honest, I'm not sure that the Cardinals are going to be able to get somebody that profiles as a 2 for a rental relief pitcher.
So based on that, BK, my question, I guess I was a little bit surprised. And I said to the guys here, I said it was kind of a sobering moment to think that maybe you're not going to get all that much for Jordan Hicks. What do you think the Cardinals could get for him?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends. Like, what do you think you're going to get for Jordan Hicks right now?
Yeah, I don't know. I was partly insane, okay? I was expecting big things, and when I heard what he rhymed off, I was kind of like, ugh, I don't really like that.
So, let's use the trade that we saw go down earlier today as an example, right? The Dodgers got Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly. That is a rental starter and a rental reliever. And in return, what they sent out was an upside starter that's currently at AA and a reliever that throws 98 miles per hour currently at AA. I would take that for Jordan Hicks. If you got a deal like that for Jordan Hicks and Jordan Montgomery and you had paired those two up, I would say the Cardinals did pretty well on that trade. And what they're probably getting in return in that deal for Lynn and Kelly, it's a number 3 starter, maybe a guy that profiles next year to probably be a number 5 starter at best. And then later on can work his way up into your rotation. But the Leisure kid that they got in that deal is a potential back end of the bullpen type of an arm, maybe 1 or 2 years down the road. So I think if you got just the bullpen reliever, for example, for Jordan Hicks, you might feel okay about it. That's a little underwhelming. If you got that starter in return for Jordan Hicks, you're feeling pretty damn good, man. I think the biggest thing that the Cardinals have to decide on a deal like this is twofold. One, are you looking for upside or are you looking for certainty? And two, are you looking for quantity or quality? And those things all kind of go together. But if they're looking for multiple prospects in return, you're not getting the same kind of headliner. But if you're looking for one player, getting that back for Jordan Hicks, then you have to decide on the upside versus certainty. Because the certainty route, Jamie, that is something that I find to be really interesting with them. You mentioned Cody Bradford. He's a starting pitcher / reliever right now for the Texas Rangers. He has been a starter in the big leagues already. He's 25 years old. Next year, he's going to be 26. He could come in and be a number 5 starter for the Cardinals next year. But he's more of what they have currently. Not great swing and miss stuff. Probably profiles best to be a back end of the starter the entirety of his career. Not like a ton of prospect status or anything like that. So I think that it all comes back to this, Jamie. What do you want for Jordan Hicks? What are you hoping to acquire at this deadline? Because I think that ultimately informs what they're going to be searching for.
Yeah, so I think where I am with this whole situation, and I'm not blinded just by how good Jordan Hicks has pitched recently. I am aware that he was almost potentially DFA'd at the start of the season to where they were not happy. He couldn't find his game, and all. I'm aware of all that. But I guess the more I think of it, the more I wonder about an extension for this guy. And sometimes the player you have is worth more than the player you can acquire, meaning how valuable he can be for your team. Now, 3 years is excessive for me. If that's what he's looking for, I just don't know if I'd be ready to go there. 2 years, I could be sold on that. 1 year, it's a lock. I would sign him in a heartbeat for a 1-year contract extension. But I think Jordan Hicks is going to want a little more certainty than a 1-year deal. Why? Because he's been inconsistent, because he's had some ups and downs. And so the player in that situation is going to want a little more guarantee, especially when it comes to term. So I don't know. I flop back and forth between wanting to keep him and wanting to trade him, and trading him just because, and just acquiring a player that might never actually be in your lineup. I don't know if I'm ready for that. Now, you brought up a couple of guys, that are in the Dodgers trade, number 3 and a 5 starter. I guess if you could get a bona fide starter, and what I mean by that is anywhere from 1 to 5, it'd probably be a 4 or 5, I would be thrilled with that. But again, the certainty isn't necessarily there. You're not guaranteed to get that. So that's where I toggle between keeping Jordan Hicks and dealing him.
Yeah, I just wouldn't keep him. Like, I see almost zero reason to keep a bullpen arm at this point in the season. Your team is going nowhere. If you really want to bring back Jordan Hicks, you can do that in the offseason. Like, we don't have to make this a thing where it's an either or. It can be you trade him now and you pull the Aroldis Chapman, where you then sign him in the offseason. Now, I also wouldn't do that. I think bringing back a bullpen arm, and I think Jordan Hicks is going to command 3 years or more on his new extension, whenever that is, or his new contract, wherever that may be. I think he's going to get 3+ years, and I would not sign really just about any bullpen arm to a 3+ year deal. We've seen it with Hicks already. Just look back at any 3-year stretch so far of his major league career and tell me what you would pay for that 3-year stretch of his major league career. Because it's erratic, man. And Hicks is not alone in that regard. Look back to Andrew Miller. Nobody thought that was going to be a disaster contract when they signed it, but he's a bullpen arm, so it ends up being a disaster. The Cardinals certainly didn't expect, whenever they went out and jumped the market to get another lefty in Cecil, for that thing to go awry, but it did, because these things tend to go south. You look down to the Houston Astros. I think they're pretty smart at this stuff, right, Jamie? Like, they're pretty good at this stuff. Well, they last offseason signed a bullpen arm that helped them win the World Series to a 3-year extension, and this year that guy has a 6 ERA. And it's part of why they had to trade for Graveman earlier today and give up a top 100 prospects to get him. I'm just not doing it. I would not re-sign Jordan Hicks, despite how great he has obviously been for the Cardinals over the last 3 months. I would not sign him to that contract that he's looking for.
So what's your pivot then? Like, what's your pivot? Because, excuse me, you've got to rebuild your entire pitching staff. You've got a rotation that's pretty much empty. Your bullpen has not done the job that you've needed it to do. You literally got rid of Genesis Cabrera just because you didn't see eye to eye on what his role would be within the organization. Zach Thompson, he doesn't even know what the hell he's going to be in the future, whether it's a starter or a reliever. So what's your pivot then? If you're not going to bring, like sign a guy or re-sign a guy or even bring him back in the offseason, What are you thinking?
Yeah, I would do a combination of trading for young arms that have options and use them out of the bullpen. And I would bring in guys that are on the scrap heap, so to speak, from the bullpen perspective and hope that they end up turning out well for you. Michael Fulmer last year signed for $4 million. He's been pretty solid this year for the Chicago Cubs. Pierce Johnson, he was just traded by the Colorado Rockies for a real return. He's a 32-year-old reliever. Last year, he signed a one-year, $5 million deal. Andrew Chafin, all of us were calling for the Cardinals to sign him last year. Lefty arm that's been really good his entire major league career. Jamie, he signed a one-year deal worth $6 million. I would just make a bunch of bets on bullpen arms on one-year deals. David Robertson, one-year deal this past offseason. Got a real return for the Mets a little while ago because he's been excellent for them. $10 million. If that goes south, it's a one-year contract. You move on from it either in season or after the season. But I would make a bunch of bets like that as opposed to locking myself in to 3 years of Jordan Hicks where I know that contract can go south for me.
I just feel like the Cardinals will screw that up. I just feel, honestly, I feel like it will be same time next year talking about the same thing because of the scrap heap. They went and tried that route. They tried to, find somebody on a reclamation year, and it's a one-year deal, and it won't hurt you. I get it. From the organization standpoint, I'm with you 100%. But from a standpoint of winning baseball, it's a bit of a roll of the dice for me that you could end up doing the same freaking thing you're doing now.
But the problem is, Jamie, the same thing could be true. This is where we just get way overconfident in our evaluation of relievers in terms of the arms that we're talking about. The same thing could be true of Jordan Hicks. We could be talking at this point next year and we're saying to ourselves, oh my God, the Cardinals really locked themselves in if they decided to resign him to another massive long-term extension for a reliever because they saw 6 good months of ball out of him. This would actually be a more risky decision than when they signed Miller or when they signed Cecil because of Jordan Hicks's recent track record. He has been bad for the last couple of seasons and he has a real injury history. So I honestly am having a hard time seeing the argument for Jordan Hicks being back on a multi-year extension. So I would trade him at the deadline for the best offer that you're able to get, but I would also be much more aggressive than what it appears that they're doing in general. I think you should be selling Tyler O'Neill for a bullpen arm. I would be willing to take that back in a return. A high upside bullpen arm, the way that you did with some of these other guys in previous years where you were able to get Giovanni Gallegos and Genesis Cabrera because you traded off pieces that you didn't want anymore in your everyday lineup. I would look for the next guy that's in that ilk. So I would be more aggressive than they clearly are trying to be.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what John Mozeliak and the Cardinals do, certainly between now and Tuesday. Keep us on our toes, that's for sure. The Air Comfort Service text line is 314-399-9646. The Sports Six-Pack coming up next. Get your questions in right now at 101 ESPN.
time for the Fast Lane to answer your sports questions.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
Asking me all these weird questions.
Answer the question.
Answer the question.
Answer me!
The Sports Six-Pack is refreshed by Maggie O'Brien's, your go-to Irish pub in St. Louis for over 42 years.
Welcome back inside the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. It's time for your Sports Six-Pack.
Question number 1.
All right, gentlemen from the 618. Guys, if you could choose one team the Cardinals should trade with, who is it? This texter believes it should be the Braves.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would trade with the Braves. I don't know what they've got available. I feel like they've locked up all of their young talent, promising arms. They need pitching as well, so I can't imagine that they would be trading pitching. BK, I could be wrong.
Yeah, I would trade with either the Mariners or the Twins. Those are two organizations right now that have a surplus on the pitching side and need some positional players. So those would be the two teams that I would be targeting because I think they fit up organizationally with what you have and what you need.
Question number 2.
From the 636, guys, I saw Matthew Liberatore was called up today. Do you think he should start tonight?
Boy, oh boy. Who is scheduled to start?
It's Monty.
Okay. Now, is it crazy for me to say I would have Mikolas pitch? He threw 14 pitches, BK.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much. Starters, Jamie, you know this, having talked with BT on a regular basis. Pitchers are so routine-oriented that it could throw him off of that if he were to go out again today on a starter schedule.
Come on.
These games don't matter anymore, and Montgomery is a piece that I'm trying to sell at the deadline. I would lock him into a room somewhere until he is dealt. I would not throw Jordan Montgomery today. I know yesterday they used a bunch of their arms, but I would start Matthew Liberatore tonight. That would be my route. And then I would start him every 5th day from now until the end of the season.
Yeah.
I need to find out what Matthew Liberatore can be.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, 100%. I just don't know. With the arms being taxed the way they are and the possibility of Liberatore being 1 or 2 innings in and everything just blows up, I think that if I didn't go with Mikolas, you don't have another option, though. You really don't. I mean, you got Monty, but we don't want to pitch Monty. I don't want that arm, anything. I don't want a comebacker off the knee. I don't want anything to happen to Monty right now. So, I mean, I guess Liberatore would be the guy, unless Mikolas last night communicated with Ollie because they both got tossed out of the game early. Maybe he sat there and said, hey, look at Ollie, sorry to screw the pooch here tonight with 14 pitches. I'll be ready tomorrow. I mean, but I haven't heard anything like that.
Yeah, the positive is you've got Stratton, Romero, Gio, and Hicks all available coming out of the pen tonight, and you might have Palante. He threw 37 pitches on Wednesday, so I don't know if he would be available tonight or not. But if he is, you've got a decent number of arms that could be available for you because of what Dakota Hudson was able to do in relief in terms of just eating those innings for you.
I say we just pitch Suarez and watch his arm fall off.
He went down. He was the guy that went down.
Oh, was he? He was the red.
So he's not available anymore.
Damn it.
I wonder if they'll put a pitch count on Montgomery tonight.
Don't they every night?
I don't think so. I wouldn't think they will.
What else does he have to prove, though? Like, why? I agree with what you're saying. Like, why even have him in this position?
I don't know.
It makes no sense. I mean, it would be the total Cardinals
misplay.
luck for something bad to happen.
Yeah, I mean, Mo's going to be holding his breath with every pitch that Monty throws, and he just had that hamstring injury. What was that, a few weeks ago now?
Mm-hmm.
They got lucky there that it wasn't more serious than it was. I just wouldn't throw him tonight. I think it's too much of a risk with almost zero reward. They would probably tell you, well, we're showcasing him. Man, nobody's trading for Jordan Montgomery because of what he does in this game tonight.
No, that means nothing tonight, for sure. We'll find out.
Question number 3.
We talked about Vladimir Tarasenko a few times throughout the show today, but from the 314, Jamie, the Senators signed Vladdy for only $5 million. Isn't he worth more?
No. In fact, I can't believe he got $5 million, to be honest. He's a $4 million player at best for me. We got to remember that he didn't have a great year. I mean, he only scored 8 goals in 31 games for the Rangers. Didn't have a blowout year with the Blues. Now, the year before, he had a good year, his first time eclipsing the 80-point mark. But that's not enough. I mean, he was making 7.5. He's a $4 million player in today's market. He should be thrilled. He got $5 million out of the Ottawa Senators. I stand firm on that.
I'm with you, Jamie. It reminds me so much of the Mike Hoffman deal here in St. Louis, where you're buying low on an asset and you're hoping that he's able to reclaim the player that he once was. The difference, though, is at the time, Mike Hoffman was coming off of a pretty good year. You know, he had 30 goals in 70 games for Florida the year before he signed here in St. Louis. So I'm pretty shocked he was able to end up getting $5 million. And I'm almost every bit as shocked that he was willing to go to Ottawa, Jamie.
You bite your tongue, okay?
Hey.
Ottawa is Canada's capital. It's a beautiful city, and a lot of amazing people were born and raised there, BK.
I'm sure they were. Do a lot of people stay there afterwards when they've got millions upon millions upon millions of dollars?
You know what? There's at least 3 billionaires that live in Ottawa. Screw you.
Question number 4.
From the 636, do you guys think we see a player get pulled from the game either tonight or tomorrow to get an ovation due to a trade?
No, who's left? There's no. What? I mean, I guess if it's Nolan Arenado, but I have no clue that he's going to get traded. Who else would be worthy of pulling out of a game for an ovation?
Yeah, I mean, like
Newt Bar?
Donovan, Newt Bar, Gorman. Like, these guys are all just so young. And I don't know if you saw, Jamie, but Katie Wu reported earlier today in The Athletic that the Cardinals aren't looking to move any of them.
Oh my God.
So I would be surprised. I mean, does Jordan Hicks get an ovation of some kind?
No.
Didn't think so.
For what?
I mean,
he
was a good closer for them.
So being healthy for one season?
2. He's a really good closer once upon a time, Jamie.
No ovations.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Question number 5.
From the 618, did Sean Payton cross the line in his interview with the USA Today Sports?
Ooh, I'm interested in your thoughts on this, Jamie.
A couple things. One, I love that he's got the Liberty Bells to just go out and say that in a nationally printed article, that he knew full well that the world was going to see it. On the other hand, though, I don't necessarily think it was necessary to sewer the past head coach or the previous regime. I don't know what the gain is by doing that. And maybe Sean Payton figures this is his last stop anyways as a head coach. He's not worried about burning bridges and doesn't really care about people's feelings. I just think he could have said what he said without actually, throwing everybody under the bus.
So the part that I was really surprised by is when he said that everybody that is still there, including his boss, the general manager, was culpable for what took place in Denver last year. Like, talking down to Hackett, the guy that was fired and is now the OC in New York, like, that's one thing. He's gone. You don't have to worry about it, whatever. Sully his reputation and it does nothing to your organization. Talking down to the guy that is your boss? That is a little bit different. So that part surprised me. I will say this, Jamie, if I was to guess as to what he was trying to accomplish with those statements, it's very simple. Hey, Russ, you were never the problem. You're good to go, dude. Like, we're super in on Russell Wilson. Couldn't be more excited about who he's going to be. He was never the issue. It was the coaching that was the problem. And I'm here now to fix Russell Wilson. I think that was it. He's just trying to instill some confidence in his quarterback. But the way that he went about it, oh boy, he sure garnered some headlines with that one.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I thought the same thing. He's trying to make Russell Wilson feel better about himself and the fan base. Maybe tell them that, hey, don't worry, we've got a good quarterback here. I think he could have said it without dragging people's faces through the mud at the same time. But either way, I don't care. I'm here for any kind of conflict and drama in the NFL. I'm here for it. All right, Marcia, what did we get to on that? 4, 5? All right, that was your Sports 5-pack. This is always one of the best times of the week. We got our guy, Matt Holliday, coming up next here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN.
Now batting for the fast lane, Cardinals Hall of Famer and fifth member, Matt Holliday. We're hanging with Holliday on 101 ESPN.
Powered by Air Alliance Team Heating and Cooling. Getting the job done quickly, correctly, 100% of the time.
It's a fast lane here on 101 ESPN. It's that time of the week. Again, we head out to the celebrity line and bring in our guy, Matt Holliday. Matt, how we doing, bud?
What's up, fellas?
Not much. It's myself and BK here today, although we did have a Brad Thompson sighting in the studio for an hour today.
Wow. Was he lost? What happened?
Yeah, I don't know. There must have been chores to do around the house, and he tried to get out of it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right. You're the guy I actually been dying to talk to about this. I talked to BT a little bit about it, but, he gives me the pitcher's perspective. But last night, I'm sure you saw Miles Mikolas and Contreras get hit in the head with the follow through or whatnot. So a couple things here. One, I'm all for conflict. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with pitchers, going after the batter charging the mound, whatever you want. It's exciting for me. I just didn't understand the retribution. Hap clearly. It was an accident hitting Contreras. They kind of bro it out. They hug it out and everything's fine. And then Mikolas doubles down on the inside pitches till he hits Hap. I didn't understand the retribution.
Yeah, I think we have to probably does this happen a lot? Like, is this something that Hap does a lot? Like, is this carelessness? Because if this is just a one-time accident where, he swung and missed and kind of whirly-birded around and hit the catcher, and obviously, Contreras had to come out of the game, so that adds, a little bit more of the drama to it. As far as the pitcher getting pissed or whatever, but I don't know of the history of him if he does this a lot. But I think at some point maybe guys get tired of seeing the same guy do the same thing and hitting catchers in the backswing, and so I think that's one fact to consider, at least one factor to at least think about. But secondly, like you said, I think you take a shot and you miss. To me, usually that's your shot, and then that sends the message like, hey, that's not cool. You knocked our catcher out of the game, whatever. He missed him, and that's on the pitcher for not hitting him. So I do think when you go back and you double down and you hit him, that you are going to get kicked out of the game, because I think that the umpires traditionally, without warning, they give you one shot, but when you go back in there and hit him again, or you hit him, on the second try, I don't think that you give him much option but to throw you out in the first inning, and then that kind of leaves your team, a little bit out to dry without, you got to have 9 innings of relief. So I'm with you, Jamie, in that if that's a one-time thing, and like you said, they kind of hugged it out or whatever, and you want to take a shot and send a message and say, hey, you hit our catcher, but I thought when you go back in there the second time, that's what you get. You get 9 innings of relief. You kind of stick it to your bullpen mates a little bit by trying to defend your catcher.
Matt, I wanted to ask you about a mindset of a player around this time of the year. Earlier this week, Jack Flaherty talked about how for the first time in his Cardinals career, he got a little distracted in the final inning as he was out there because he finally thought about what it was going to be like to pitch in a Cardinals uniform for the last time. And Montgomery has not been in a Cardinals uniform as long, but he has a chance to have that same experience this evening as well. What is that like as a player the week of the trade deadline?
Well, it's unsettling. It's definitely unsettling where, particularly when you're going to be a free agent, like the guys you're talking about. And typically with the Cardinals, this is not really something it's not really something you have to worry about because you're usually in the middle of the hunt. And yeah, you can get traded for, and brought in other pieces, but this is a interesting scenario, I guess, because the Cardinals are kind of selling. For the first time in many years, but it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, I guess, and kind of wondering what's going to happen. And you start to read, rumors, and you read stuff on the internet, and you might be going here, you might be going there, and you're trying to get inside information. I'm sure they had their agents reaching out and trying to figure out and see if they can figure out what's going on. Nowadays, a lot of guys just find out on Twitter. It seems like, the reporters seem to get a hold of these things just as fast, if not faster, than the players. So it's definitely a bit of a stressful time, but it's part of it. It's part of if you wait and you're going to be a free agent and you've earned the right to be a free agent. This sort of comes with the territory of being this close to free agency on a team that's, kind of out of it. And so this kind of comes with it. It sounds like they've made a little late run at Jack Flaherty, maybe that try to re-sign him, or and maybe Montgomery. But it is an interesting time. I think fans are interested to see, what you get in return for some of these guys, and I like it. I'm interested. I'm checking my phone to see, what trades are made. It seems like there's a lot of good players that are on the market.
Matt, you talked about rumors swirling around and things like that. We see it all the time. And you just talked about, pending free agents that you're going to lose. You're trying to make sure you get something for them. There was a massive rumor yesterday surrounding Nolan Arenado and the Dodgers. And, some of it was very loosely written. Some of it, people claim that there's meat on the bone for it. But if you're a guy like Nolan Arenado, and you were this type of player, you're a great player in a situation that is not ideal right now. The team is not where you wanted it to be, and you have an opportunity to go to a contender. Is that something that you think is on Arenado's mind, or do you think he's just locked in to be here in St. Louis?
Well, I think he made a pretty, direct commitment when he didn't opt out this offseason. I think that he by staying in the contract and saying this is where I want to be. I think he said all along he loves it in St. Louis. He loves playing there, and he loves living there in the season. And I think he's very, very much committed to the St. Louis Cardinals. I think you have to. I don't think they're that far off, and so I think you've got to keep him. I don't see any reason or really, I don't think it makes sense to trade him when you have a nice nucleus to build around moving forward to next year. To me, Jamie, it doesn't make any sense. He's shown his loyalty. He could have opted out and gotten more money this offseason, but he didn't. He wants to be there. He's a tremendous player. He's a great guy for young players to look up to with work ethic and how he plays the game. So it doesn't – obviously people are going to throw things around. I'm sure the Dodgers maybe kick the tires and say, hey, he's a California kid. Maybe, he wants to come home and finish his career here or something like that. Maybe they made a call, but I don't know any inside information. But my guess is that Mo probably told them in pretty quick order that they're not interested in moving Nolan at this time.
Yeah, I said basically if they called Mo that he's just hung up immediately following the question. But look, I think it's an interesting situation, and just from an athlete standpoint, like Nolan Arenado, do the rumors like that, do they bother you when they start swirling, especially if they're not true, or especially if in the bottom line, like, hey, I want to be a Cardinal, but then you see all this stuff come out. How does that work? How do you feel with that happening?
I think it's, when you have the inside information, like, I'm sure that maybe he and Mo had a conversation, and when you have the inside information, it's almost laughable. When you read this stuff, some of it, when as the player, and you actually know what's going on, and then you have some of these writers speculating or guessing. It's almost laughable. It's nothing. I don't think guys get too worked up about it, especially if you're in direct contact and you have good communication with the GM and your agent about what's really happening. So I don't think a player of Nolan's status with the no trade clause has anything to worry about. Really pays much mind to it.
All right, Matt, final question that I've got for you. I wanted to ask you about the other Nolan, because Gorman's been incredible so far this season. He's 23 years old, and he's now on pace to finish the season with 35 home runs and 100 RBIs. The only other guy to do it at his age in a Cardinals uniform in the history of this franchise is Albert Pujols. What are we watching right now with Nolan Gorman and the production that we're seeing from such a young player?
Well, I think it's exciting. Just like we just talked about having pillars to build around moving to next year. I mean, I think that while this season has been bad, I don't think, it's going to be a complete dumpster fire. I mean, I think that there's some things to be excited about. When you think about Nolan Gorman at 23 and Jordan Walker at 21, to go along with Arenado and Goldie, and there's some things to be excited about. I mean, I think when you talk about Nolan Gorman and the improvement that he's made from last year to this year, from age 22 to 23, I think you can get excited and dream about, the next couple steps. Traditionally, the peak years are more in the 26, 27, 28, sort of age in Major League Baseball, where they really sort of hit their peak and their stride and what they can become. So dreaming on him being a 40 homer hitter with 100 RBIs and even if he hit 260, 270, you're talking about, a perennial all-star and somebody that you sort of write in 10 in the middle of your order for the next 10 years. So it's exciting to see. And like I said, I think the most exciting part is the improvement he made from last year to this year. And it tells me that he learns and can get even better.
Well, buddy, this time next week when we have you on, we'll probably have quite a few things to discuss. So it should be an interesting trade deadline for the Cardinals. But as always, buddy, we appreciate your time coming on here, and have yourself a great weekend.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. It was good talking to you. I'm looking forward to seeing what the deadline holds.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot, man. Have a good one.
Okay. See you guys.
All right, that was Matt Holliday, Cardinals Hall of Famer, that just joined us. Had some great things to say. We're going to follow up right away with Kylie McDaniel, who's coming up next, ESPN Baseball Insider, here on 101 ESPN. Wrestling here on 101 ESPN. We head out now to the celebrity line to be joined by Kylie McDaniel, ESPN Baseball Insider. You can follow him at Twitter at Kylie MCD. Right there, that's his profile name. And we got, by the way, Kylie, we got someone I think you know joining the show as well. BK from the BK and Ferrario shows. He's in from the bullpen with us today.
Always glad to be on the celebrity line, and I'm actually in the middle of updating my giant spreadsheet of prospects right now. So you caught me right in the middle of being in my bag.
Well, that's kind of perfect then, because we're going to definitely be kicking the tires on the prospects. But the first thing I wanted to kind of get out in the open here is these rumors of Nolan Arenado being in a trade to the Dodgers. Now, here in Cardinal Nation, I don't know if you know this, people are a little crazy when it comes to baseball. And Nolan Arenado possibly being traded has people quite heated. And I'm just wondering if you're hearing anything out there that would, back up the rumors, or do you think it's just that right there is just a rumor?
Yeah, I would say our staff, we've been on a big text chain with all the various reporters and Jeff Pass and the editors, all those people. And we had been talking about that being a thing that was being sort of, I'll say bandied about, but like sort of very surface level conversations checking in for a little while. So this isn't like totally new news, although I think it has been new that it was been reported because it didn't seem like it had risen to the level of being reported. Like there's a lot of calls that get made and then like, that doesn't sound like a fit. And then we hear about it. And it's like, well, that's not really reportable. Obviously some people don't feel that way and feel like that level of conversation is worth reporting on. But like teams are making that having that level of conversation on dozens and dozens of guys at this time of year. And it's not really news. I will say there are some people in the industry that think that this could accelerate, that they sort of see a fit. These are, one of the other 28 teams looking from the outside, like, oh, the Dodgers want to make a splash. I could see Arenado being a fit. Like, you can sort of see that coming together, but nobody has any actual information to say that they're even to the point of like exchanging names or figuring out what the financials would be or that kind of thing. It's more of like, we're touching base. There's a perception that Arenado would be open to waiving his no trade to go there. They'd be looking to add a bat. St. Louis seems like they're selling. Like everything sort of lines up to where the conversation makes sense, but it's just smoke and no fire at this point.
If you were in charge of the Cardinals, Kylie, would you trade or entertain the idea of trading Goldie Arenado?
Probably not, just because you get into this problem where the idea of when you're building up a team, like if we're going to say this is like a multi-year teardown, which I don't think it is, but let's just say that it is, you'd then be building it up to hopefully find a player like that, and you have two of them right now. So what would really be the point of getting rid of them to then turn around and try to find them again at some point later, whether it's internally or trade for them from the outside? So I would say no. Also, the fact that this is a bigger market team that's competitive every year and has been that way for my entire lifetime. It just doesn't seem like they would want to do that, much less would that actually be a good idea. This seems like, to me from the outside, the expectations coming into the year, which you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, was that they'd be a playoff team in contention, and they're not. And I don't think the outlook next year with like the top of the farm system being good, a lot of these players having down seasons, like I don't think they're going to be bad next year. So it just seems like one of these years where you kind of punt this season, but then the expectation is you'll be competitive again next year. So I don't really know what that would be solving.
Yeah, Kylie, trust me, the expectation here in Cardinal Nation was absolutely to make the playoffs for one thing, and I think the fans here were foaming at the mouth to do something bigger than that based upon the offense that this team had in spring training. So it has been less than satisfying for the fan base. But now at the trade deadline, John Mozeliak, he's in a situation that he really hasn't been in yet here in St. Louis, to where it's definitely a losing season, and he absolutely has to move on from some pieces and go acquire pitching. Like the highlight here is just it's pitching that he has to acquire. But, it's a bit of a gamble because you're not necessarily going to get the certainty of, a starter that's been in the league for 4 or 5 years, and you're like, okay, we're going to go get that guy. A lot of talk is looking to find prospects that can project to be a 3 or a 4 or a 2. If you were the Cardinals right now, what team out there across the league has the biggest pool of prospects in the pitching department?
So there would be two, and one you're not going to like. One's the Dodgers. There's been some talk that their AA rotation, which I think has since been broken up. I think some of the guys got promoted, but they had 5 starters and I think 2 relievers that were all collectively their average velocity, and they projected starters, not just guys that throw really hard. Their average velocity was better than like 5 big league rotations.
Wow.
And they're all like top 200, 250 prospects, and there are two guys in the bullpen that are like real prospects as well. So they have that sitting in Double A in addition to the sort of Gavin Stone. They just traded Nastrini to the White Sox. They had a number of guys, Pepio, some of those guys kind of hanging around the periphery of the big leagues, and obviously they have some guys in the big leagues. I mean, St. Louis is in a unique situation, right? I think coming into the year, the question was, is there that frontline guy in the rotation? And now 3/5 of the rotation and the closer are set to become free agents. So you really got to plug in some guys. And I think the thought, looking at the top of the, I want to say I was on this show or another one coming into the year, where the idea was, well, you got Zach Thompson and you got Liberatore and you got Tank Hentz on the way and you got Graceffo. You got enough names like, Jerpy, McGreevy, Bryson Motts, could like all these guys sort of fill in those holes naturally. And now it looks like, maybe one or two of them will, but you can't count on the rotation having all three of those spots filled by internal options and then lasting the entire season. So again, if that Arenado deal or some other deal with the Dodgers is available, I've been told, or the sort of buzz is that Gavin Stone, a guy that is a top 100 player with a plus changeup that could be a rotation guy next year, has been sort of bandied about as like the big name they'd be willing to deal in a big deal. So that would be one name you can gravitate to. And I would say the other one is Seattle, where they have 4 mid-20s guys in the rotation right now. And the buzz was they'd be willing to trade one of them. So that would be Logan Gilbert, Bryce Miller, Brian Wu, and George Kirby, that they'd be willing to trade one of them if they could get a comparable bat. So that's another thing where I would say St. Louis has maybe a couple too many bats, especially on the young side, where they could afford to trade one of them. It sounds like they've been exploring that, but not really getting close on stuff. I think Seattle would be open to moving one of those guys. Obviously, Kirby and Gilbert would be the most expensive of the two because they're the best currently as well. But those are the two teams that seem to have pitching and are looking to add bats, which I think would be nice fits.
Nobody in St. Louis likes it when I talk about this, Kylie, and I get it, because this guy that I'm about to mention is a very good young player. He's on pace for 35 home runs and 100 RBIs. You don't trade that guy, unless, of course, you are desperate for pitching. So Nolan Gorman is a second baseman for the Cardinals, but probably best serves as a third baseman for somebody. If the Cardinals were to make him available, for example, with the Mariners, what kind of pitching do you think that would net in return?
I think that's the kind of name that Seattle would be looking for Gilbert or Kirby. So I think you could sort of pick one of those 4 guys and might even be able to get more, because when you're talking about, I think it would be 4.5 years of control of Gorman for, I believe, 3.5 of a pitcher. Usually you take hitter over pitcher. Gorman's a guy that's had, pedigree going back to when he's 16, 17. These other guys haven't all been sort of slam dunk guys for a while. So I think Gorman would certainly pry one of those guys loose. And if you were looking, more in the, Burleson, Carlson, like that tier of guy, then you're looking at more good prospect, maybe on the Liberatore level of prospect that can probably be a big league option for next season, but also you're not positive, and it's kind of a little bit of wait and see, and you hope you're solving a problem, but you're not positive you're solving a problem. I think that's like sort of the other route you could go if you want to go into guys that aren't necessarily playing every day right now and see if that can solve the issue, which I would say it probably can't. But I would also say when all of these pitchers, I think Tank Hentz being the best of the group, come up, I think eventually you'll have that answer. But obviously this is not a market where you could just sort of sit there for another year and wait for these guys to show up. You need some sort of short-term answers as well.
Would you trade Gorman for one of those pitchers?
That would certainly seem to balance things out a little bit more in terms of who are your, how many guys do you have on a playoff lineup and how many guys do you have that would be in a playoff rotation? I would have to delve a little deeper into that to see if there was like a better way to do it. But if you're telling me that's the only way to do it, or that's the best way to do it, I think that's certainly worth thinking about. If you offer me those 2 guys in a vacuum, I would take Gorman. So I'd like to think there's a better way to do it than that.
Kylie, one guy that we thought for sure would probably find his way out of here at the trade deadline was Tyler O'Neill. John Mozeliak and the Cardinals, be rumored that they're saying, not so fast. We don't know if we get the return that we want for Tyler O'Neill. What's just your personal opinion? A guy like Tyler O'Neill, who's had a lot of injury problems over the last, handful of years, what would his value be on the market? And is the best decision for him to just stay here in St. Louis?
That's a good question. I think he's a free agent after next year, so he'd be getting 1.5 years of a guy that certainly shows the potential to be an impact guy, but it's been real hit and miss. I guess there's really been one season where he's giving you the whole thing. So that would probably, usually what happens in that situation is you're sort of clearing out a spot on the big league roster. You take a prospect that won't need to be added to the 40-man for a year or two, a non-top 100, but like the tier behind a top 100 prospect. in Double-A on a team, like Tampa, that like collects a bunch of guys like this and tries to put them in roles, maybe fixes some guys that aren't quite together, changes scenery, that sort of guy. So it wouldn't be a guy you'd necessarily get excited about right away. It would be, we're in a year and a half of a guy that may not do anything, so we can't give you too much. That would be kind of what you're talking about. So I would imagine that would be the hesitation, is we got a guy that could help us right now versus a guy that, we get for him, we probably wouldn't be helping us right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be interesting here in Cardinal Nation over the next handful of days as John Mozeliak and the team approach a trade deadline. And I know, buddy, that you're going to be really busy as well diving into all this stuff. So good luck with all your work over there at ESPN. Hopefully you guys have a good time and hopefully get some sleep when this trade deadline passes.
Just had some coffee moments ago, and I'll be on our trade deadline show, the 2 hours leading up to the deadline on ESPN. I'll be sitting at the little kids area, waiting for them to come over when they trade a prospect, and they get for a loss of words, and they point to me, and I start talking.
Awesome, buddy. Well, enjoy that as much as you can, and our listeners can give you a follow at Twitter at Kylie MCD is your screen name. So, Kylie, take care, buddy. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yep, thanks for having me.
All right, that was Kylie McDaniel from ESPN. He's Baseball Insider. A lot of interesting stuff there, BK. I think I want to dive into that on the other side a little bit here. We've also got today's biggest question of the day, as well as Beat the Streak, coming up on 101 ESPN. Jamie Rivers here. I want to talk to you about my good buddy Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage Corporation. When it comes to debt consolidation, maybe you're looking at a mortgage for a home. You have questions about the interest rates. Stewie's our guy. He's always up to date on all of his information. And if it's maybe you're trying to figure out what the Federal Reserve is doing, I certainly don't know anything about the Federal Reserve. But Stewie, he's got you covered for sure. He's the best in the business. He's our guy here in the fast lane with Anthony Stalter. He's got to be your guy. He also has a program called the Bagel Loan. The Bagel Loan is where you borrow for $200,000 or more, and there's no underwriting fees, there's no appraisal fees, there's no title fees, no lender fees, no closing costs. It's an amazing deal. And Stewie takes great care of you, and it's all about the customer service. That's what it really is. And the best part about Stewie is he also gives out his personal cell phone number so you can call him or text him at any point. Weekends doesn't matter. Holidays doesn't matter. Any day, any night, you got him. His number is 314-324-4440. Again, that number is 314-324-4440. You can call him at that number, or you can Google the Bagel Loan.
NMLS number 226715.
If you're getting ready to sell your car, stop! Your car's value is at an all-time high, and hundreds of companies want to pay you less so they can make more. Get full retail value without the retail hassle at sellmycarstl.com. That's sellmycarstl.com.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals looking to bounce back after a 10-3 loss last night to the Cubs. Miles Mikolas went 2/3 of an inning due to being ejected after hitting Ian Happ, who hit Wilson Contreras in the back of the head with his backswing in the first inning. We have some interesting news regarding Ollie Marmol and Miles Mikolas. We're going to get to that coming up next with our biggest question of the day. But the Cards and Cubs are set to square off at 7:15 first pitch as Jordan Montgomery takes the mound. If you've missed anything from today's show, including all of our interviews, we talked with Chris Kerber, Levi Weaver of The Athletic, who covers the Texas Rangers. We had Matt Holliday on, and Kylie McDaniel, ESPN Baseball Insider. If you've missed anything from today's show, make sure you go to 101ESPN.com or use the 101 mobile app. It's all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. The Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
It's time for the Fast Lane's biggest question of the day.
It's a Fast Lane here on ESPN, and we are time for the biggest question of the day, but also we need a new contestant for Beat the Streak. So please text in to the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. Text in, be the next one for Beat the Streak. Biggest question of the day. Marshy, what do you got?
Yeah, so Katie Wu just tweeted out about 8 minutes ago, and you can listen to her on BK and Ferrario. Of course, we have our guy BK helping us out today while Anthony Stalter is gone. And of course, we did have Alex Ferrario as well with the first 2 hours. But anyways, Katie Wu tweeted out Ollie Marmol 1 game and Miles Mikolas 5 games. They've both been suspended by Major League Baseball due to last night's events. Marmol will serve his tonight. Mikolas is appealing. Joe McEwing manages tonight. So I wanted to ask you guys, what are your initial thoughts on the suspension of Miles Mikolas and Ollie Marmol?
I think this is an absolute joke. I couldn't believe either guy got thrown out of the game last night. If you're going to throw a guy out of the game, Mikolas, you know what? You earned it. You pitched inside twice. You tried. You missed. And then you were successful. It's pretty much a tell that you were doing it on purpose. So you boot Mikolas. No harm, no foul. And even if Ollie got out there and was heated and said some things he didn't like, okay, fine. You boot Ollie, get him, try to take the temperature down a little bit here. And both of those guys are a suspension? For what? He hit him right in the fat of the butt cheek. Happ didn't even charge the mound. It didn't cause any other extracurriculars. BK, I am absolutely puzzled as to what Major League Baseball is doing here.
So the thing I don't understand about this, Jamie, is I think everybody has the same opinion. I was talking about this with Alex and Tanner before the show today because I was like, what do we even say about this? Because everybody, I think, has the same opinion on it. I don't think there's a zig to the zag. They should have just issued warnings after the first pitch inside. And then all of this is cleared up. Because if you issue the warning there and Mikolas still hits him, everybody agrees then, okay, yeah, you got to boot him. Like, of course, that is how that works. But they didn't issue the warning there. And when they don't, and then he throws inside and hits him the second time around, then you decide, okay, willy-nilly, let's go ahead and throw him out. And that causes Ollie to lose his mind. That causes the Cubs dugout to do whatever it was that they were doing, the laughing and whatnot. And then you've got Flaherty getting into it, and then you've got the Cardinals dugout going after him. Like, that's what actually raised the heat, the temperature yesterday at the game. All they had to do was just issue the warnings after the first pitch inside, and that would have cooled everything down. The Mikolas thing, like, whatever, he shouldn't have pitched inside the second time around. And even if you, like, don't have any issue with him doing it, and I really don't, he was always going to get thrown out at that point. 5 games seems like a lot, but then you think about it, it's really 1 start, and they could even push him back. Like, he's going to be fine. I don't understand the Ollie part of this. Why is Ollie suspended? Like, somebody explain to me what exactly it was that Ollie did.
Oh, he gave the signal, BK. He clearly gave the signal. Pitch inside twice. Make sure you hit him. It's stupid.
It's just, that's the part that's weird to me. I just don't understand why Ollie's getting suspended in this.
It's stupid. I don't get it at all. I have no idea why Major League Baseball is sticking their nose into something that they just don't have to. And to your point, Mikolas, okay, fine. He's the one who committed the act. If you want to try and send a message, all right, so be it. But Ollie, poor Ollie was just getting settled into his spot there at the top of the dugout, and he had to come running out, and now he's being suspended for this crap? I don't know. I don't see it at all. I think it's a foolish suspension. I don't know. Seems stupid. All right, Marshall, we got to beat the streak contestant?
We certainly do.
We're going streaking!
I want to hit baseballs.
All of my successes depend on me.
You're ready to hit.
The hits just keep on coming.
And his first big league hit is a bullet up the middle.
We have Andrew joining us today. Very easy name to remember for me. So Andrew's our new Beat the Streak contestant.
All right, Andrew, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you?
Good, man. Good. All right. So I'm sure you know how this works, but we'll remind you anyways, is you just pick a hitter on either team to get a hit tonight. That's it. And if you get a hit, you keep going until you have a guy that doesn't get a hit. And then obviously we have to wave goodbye to you at that point, buddy. I'm sorry about that. All right.
That sounds good. Let's be
Marshy,
around for a while.
What's the standings? Who goes first?
All right, so Jamie, you have a streak of 2.
Yeah.
You are currently in the lead. Stalter had Paul Goldschmidt last night. Unfortunately for Stalter and for Paul Goldschmidt, he didn't get a hit, so his streak is over. I had Jan Gomes. I'm at 1 right now. And, of course, we have Andrew, who is at 0 because he's the new contestant. But we also have BK, who will be filling in for Anthony today. So, Jamie, you have the honors. I'll go next. Then we'll have Andrew, and then BK, you're last.
All right, here we go. So I got Gorman to hit a home run today, but I think my hit is going to be Paul Goldschmidt. He didn't get a hit yesterday. Goldie usually gets pissed off, has a bad sleep, gets to the stadium the next day, batting practice, video, push-ups, sit-ups, raw eggs, all that stuff. I'm going with Paul Goldschmidt.
I think today, man, I'm looking at Jan Gomes again, but I don't know if I can go with him. He's my guy in the Cubs, which sounds horrible to say.
You have a Cubs guy?
No.
That's disgusting.
No, I don't like saying that. However, he is batting .412 against Jordan Montgomery. Give me Jan Gomes again.
Oh, my God. All right, Jan Gomes. Next, we got Andrew. Andrew, who you got today?
Let's go with the other Andrew. His daddy.
Oh, he hit a monster shot yesterday. I like it. All right, Andrew's got Kisner. BK subbing in for Anthony Stalter. What are you thinking, my man?
Yeah, so let's go with Wilson Contreras. He's played 8 games against the Cubs so far this season. He has a hit in 7 of those 8 games so far this year. I'm going to go with Wilson Contreras as my Beat the Streak contestant today.
All right, so to recap, I've got Paul Goldschmidt. Marshy's got Jan Gomes. Andrew picked the Kiz Daddy, Andrew Kisner. And BK/Anthony Stalter picked Wilson Contreras. All right, guys, that's Beat the Streak here in the Fast Lane. Andrew, good luck, buddy. Hopefully we're talking to you on Monday.
Sounds good, guys. You guys have a good weekend.
All right, thanks. You too. All right, we're getting ready to wrap things up here in the Fast Lane. We'll have fade or follow. So do we need a fade or follow contestant? We do. So please text in Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. Fade or follow coming up. Also, what you missed, criticisms and compliments on 101 ESPN. Our guy, Ron, the Wizard of Comfort over at Swiss Air Heating and Cooling. He's got so many great packages right now for all the customers. One, hopefully your HVAC unit is working perfectly, but if it isn't, please call my friends over at Swiss Air Heating and Cooling. They'll get you a new one in there really fast, great price, great customer service. But also, if your current system does break down, Swiss Air will provide you with temporary cooling systems to keep you sane. So Anthony talks about all the time. They've got the portable air conditioner that they bring over so that you and your family aren't miserable while they put the new one in. But instead of having one that doesn't work, maybe just maintain it. And the best way to do that is with Swiss Air's $69 Magic Tune. It's a 29-point cooling system check to ensure your cooling system doesn't break down in the summertime when it's really hot. And also right now, Ron, the Wizard of Comfort, he's got $35 off any service call. They're normally $95 for a service call. Don't wait. Don't go through the heck of sweating and all that stuff. Give them a call. $35 off any service call. And all you have to do is call 636-978-7800. That's 636-978-7800. Or you can visit them at SwissAirSTL.com.
It's time for FanDuel Fade or Follow on the Fast Lane.
Brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more.
Everyone follow us.
No fade, no fade.
Money, 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 money.
Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. It is Friday, which means it's time for Fade or Follow. We head out to the phone lines, and we've got a contestant on here. We got Dave. Dave, how you doing, bud?
Doing good, guys. How are you guys doing? I'm headed down to the ball game.
Nice, nice. It looks like a beautiful night for it, too. Hopefully you bring home a winner for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so the guys and I got together here, and we found one that we like, and now you'll either fade us or follow us on this pick. Our pick is they've got FanDuel has Jordan Montgomery at 4.5 strikeouts tonight. Team Fastlane has decided that we are going to go with the under on that. So it's up to you now, Dave. Fade or follow?
I'm going to follow.
All right. Dave's in. He's on Team Fastlane here today. And what that means is Jordan Montgomery, for our listeners who maybe aren't familiar, he's got to strike out 5 for the over, and he's got to strike out 4 or less for the under. We picked the under. So that's our play. That's minus 108 today on FanDuel Sportsbook. Dave, good luck, my man. Enjoy the ball game.
Thanks, Jamie. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too. All right, Marshy. It's what we had a lot of things going on today, didn't we? We had Chris Kerber that joined us. We had Matt Holliday that joined us. We had Kylie McDaniel join us. We had Levi Weaver join us. So many great things to talk about. We had Alex Ferrario in-house. We had BT in studio today. And we had our guy BK join us for the last 2 hours of the show.
My God, other than that. Whew.
Wow. It was an exhausting day. A lot of fun, though. We had a lot of fun here in the fast lane. What do you got for us? Criticisms, compliments.
All right, let's start from the 314. Enjoying the show. Does Jamie have a stopwatch running on the segments like a hockey coach? No sloppy line changes
That's
today.
Right. It's in the details, quite honestly. That's what it is. And, I'm a details guy, and I'm looking at the clock and making sure I stay on here. I don't want to piss people off. You know, I mean,
Me too.
BK,
That's what I do
how that
too,
works,
Jamie.
right?
Yeah, that's what I do too. I'm all about working with the clock. I am about timeliness and making sure that we get in and out of segments in a very, very clean manner.
I love the fact that we have Tim McKernan and then you, like back to back. The clock is all over the place for you guys. I love it.
Listen, man, I have always had a very specific philosophy when it comes to the clock. If we are having a good conversation and it goes a little bit over, so be it, man. That being said, some of the bosses don't love that, so I've been trying to do a little better. I've been doing my best to do better with that, and we're trying to cut off the conversations in a timely manner now.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, sometimes you get in those great conversations and it feels stupid to break from it and jump to another subject that maybe has nothing to do with it. So either way, thank you. I guess that was a compliment. Or all right.
We got a text from the 636 about our, the beat the streak with BK being on for the first time, filling in for Stalter and beat the streak. The 636 wanted you to pick a Cub. I don't know why they would want you to do that. And I don't know who would ever pick a Cub.
Oh, I know why. And I'll take a stab at this. I think they're talking about a BKO on this one.
Oh.
And they wanted you to
reverse BKO going. You guys know it only works if I believe it.
I know. If you fake it, it just does not work.
Yeah, I believed in this pitching staff more than just about anybody coming into 2023. So that worked. Me picking a Cub to get a hit tonight would not, unfortunately. That's the way this thing operates.
Thanks, BK.
We got a compliment from Swan. Swan, thank you for listening, participating in the show. Great show today, guys. Yesterday's game was certainly an interesting one. Hopefully some moves towards the deadline get going. I'm hopeful we can get some young pitching. The Mariners guys are who stand out the most to me, but you also have to give up the most there. But to get something of substance, you got to give up something of substance, right? Marshy, Jamie, and BK, have a great weekend, guys.
Oh, thank you, Swan. He's an avid listener and a participant. Tweets at us all the time. He's on the text line. So, Swan, have yourself a great weekend. BK, the one thing that, was that I take home from Kylie McDaniel was that you're going to have to give to get. And the Mariners have quite a selection of pitchers that could potentially be available. But, man, a guy like Nolan Gorman, that would sting.
It would suck. Like, the problem is that you're in this position to begin with, right, Jamie? Like, you shouldn't be in a spot where you're even considering giving up, like I said earlier today with Matt Holliday, a guy that is on pace to become the only 35 home run, 100 RBI player at his age in the history of the Cardinals uniform not named Albert Pujols. It's Nolan Gorman, potentially, and Albert that have done what I'm talking about there. And you might have to give them up because you are so light on pitching. You have failed so tremendously at acquiring and developing the pitching that you need that you got to give up that dude to get a pitcher who can slot into the front end of your rotation. Logan Gilbert's that guy, though. If you could get Logan Gilbert for a guy like Nolan Gorman, I would not want to do it, but I could see how the Cardinals would talk themselves into, for this specific team with the construction that they have, it making sense for them.
Do you think John Mozeliak gets a little gun shy with this because Nolan Gorman has the makings of being everything, if not even more, than Randy Arozarena. And even though you would acquire a really good pitcher in return, it seems less sexy to a fan base when you got just a really good pitcher.
Yeah, not only is it less sexy, it's less valuable. Like the everyday position player, I will take 100 times out of 100 in general. Unfortunately, the Cardinals have so many of them that you can't play them every day. And this is where it gets into, Jamie, the conversation of like, if you're not trading Donovan, which they don't appear to be willing to do, you're not trading Nootbaar, you're not trading Edman, you're not trading Goldie, you're not trading Arenado. Okay, then how are we helping this pitching staff? The one guy that I have not heard from any of the reports that is a legit untouchable for the Cardinals, whether you agree or not, is Nolan Gorman. So that's where you could potentially talk yourself into him being the piece that you end up moving on from. But what you're moving on from is basically Kyle Schwarber with a better batting average. So have fun.
We got a text from the 314. Evening BK is lovely.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
There we go. Maybe midday BK is the problem. I'm not sure.
I think anytime BK is a little bit of an issue, but I appreciate the kind words there, sir or madam.
BK, quick question for me. How are you able to escape being a dad right now? You're able to get on the air with us for 2 hours. I figured when you get home after work that Kara's just sitting there and like hands you the baby and walks out.
Well, two things. One, I have a lovely wife, Kara, who has been tremendous with baby Luca. And two, her mom is helping us out right now. So
nice.
His grandmother and his mother are both saints, and that is how I was able to step away to hang out with you schmucks for the last 2 hours.
Awesome. I appreciate the name calling.
We got a text from the 314. Actually, a few texts here, but from the same listener. Seriously, show never lets me down. 11 out of 10. And I beat Jamie to the bourbon today. Rare occurrence. LOL.
Well, I'm on the air. That's not fair. I don't think that that's an official victory. I'm jealous, and I'm angry about it, actually, at this point. I've got a couple of good bourbons on the way. I managed to have someone find me a nice bottle of Blanton's, BK.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. For Luca's birthday, I was able to find some Old Forester birthday bourbon. That's what I was able to pull out for his birthday. So we've been kind of sipping on that a little bit lately. It's
nice. Can't go wrong with that. That's for sure.
Guys, last one here. It could be a very important one, depending on how Jamie wants to play this.
Uh-oh.
From the 314, loving the Jamie sign-offs at commercial break. Interested to see what he says for the final one outside of the Stalter. See ya.
Interesting. I didn't realize I was doing anything unique with the sign-offs. I'm just trying to get out of segments properly without stumbling all over myself. But all right, I'll take the compliment. Now the pressure's on. So I guess we'll see in about a minute here what the hell I come up with in this brain of mine, because you never know, okay?
I think what they're talking about is your teases going into break. They've kept everybody around going into the next segment.
Oh, yeah, I'm one hell of a teaser. All right, if you missed anything today, download the podcast, 101ESPN.com or 101 ESPN, the mobile app. All of that brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto. Want to thank my guy BK for jumping on here today. Thank you very much. Want to thank Alex Ferrario for jumping in. Want to thank Brad Thompson, BT, for all his work today for that first hour. I want to thank Grant Francis, who did a great job today. My guy Marshy, who was unbelievable on the dials today. Cardinals, Cubs tonight. St. Louis, have a good weekend. Smell you later.